next week to acclimatise to this humid Perth conditions. They're serious about this game, as Tiffany Cherry reports.
Fueled by the disappointment of last week's 24-point loss to Geelong, the Tigers arrived in Perth yesterday ready to pounce the Eagles and set the standard for their season ahead.
It's not quite a home and away game, it's not for 4 points, but you've still got to gain some confidence in our style of play, and that was a disappointing part last week. We did overuse the ball.
With the temperature forecast around the mid-30s, heat will be a major factor. The squad trained for just under an hour in similar conditions, while on the day ice vest, fans, an extra water carrier and 2 extra players have been ordered. Teenagers Chris Newman and the Tigers' #1 draft pick last year, David Roden, set to play their first senior game.
So out on the bench, I'm going to have to be on the middle to rotate all those boys and make sure I give them all a run now, but the Eagles have agreed if we play an extra 2 they're going to let us, so I think that's terrific from their part, and it is going to be pretty warm tomorrow, so I think it's only sensible.
Hydration pre, during and post-match, the side's top priority.
I drink a lot anyway during a game and before a game, so that's just a mindset to actually keep putting the fluids down and make sure you get plenty of them.
The veteran midfielder, who backed up a great pre-season with an impressive performance last week, is confident his skipper Wayne Campbell will be able to handle the heat through the middle despite a recent bout of tonsillitis. As for his own form, well, he believes he can continue to build on the 87 consecutive games he's played since 1998.
The body's really good, and I'm well and truly, I think, over the groin problem, so I'm really enjoying my footy and looking to have a great year.
Getting very excited are the Tigers about their prospects. Would like to do a little better than what they did against Geelong last week down at Baytech Stadium, losing their opening match by 4 goals. Jason Bennett and Carl Langdon are with me, and gentlemen, we have heard the news, the good news from a Tigers perspective, that their young draft pick, their top draft pick, the Fijian-born David Roden, is going to start on the bench here tonight, so he will play his first game, one of the additions for the Tigers lineup.
Pretty classy player. He's won the Morris Medal for the best player going around in the juniors the last 2 years, 2000 and 2001. Wasn't picked up last time around. They feel some of the clubs thought he was maybe just a little bit too short.
Isn't it great? We've had a Korean in Peterbilt, now we've got a Fijian in Roden. As we have a look at a couple of the additions, certainly Paul Hudson, 38 goals for the Western Bulldogs last year, and is always very good in the forward area, along with Adam Houlihan, good goal sneaks.
He turns 32 this year. You can sense the Tigers recruiting for the present, sensing they're going to have a big year this year. There's some of their rookies, Christian Di Pasquale stepping up from Coburg in the VFL, Hart, King, Miller, and also Garth Taylor, a boy from out west as well. But you sense Richmond really know that their window of opportunity is this year. They lost Paul Broderick and Brendan Gale, who both retired. Some of the delistings there, including Aaron James and Lionel Proctor, Paddy Steinford as well, along with Chris Hyde. So you sense Richmond really know that over the next couple of years, it's got to be now Nick Daffy on his way to Sydney, David Burke heading to the Kangaroos.
So that's the Tigers. We've heard from the West Coast Eagles coach John Worsfold. Let's hear from his Richmond counterpart. Here's Danny Frawley.
Thanks, Jason. Well, Danny, as we discussed yesterday, you were hoping for an increased bench of 8, but the temperature's dropped a little bit, and the AFL has stipulated that you actually can only have 6.
Yeah, it was quite interesting because the Eagles wanted 2 as well, so the powers to be know what they're doing, and it was disappointing because we've got 2 young kids over here and they're not playing, but the conditions are a lot cooler than even yesterday, so I don't understand why.
How have the boys pulled up? You said yesterday a couple of players were a little bit dehydrated. How have they pulled up today?
Yeah, no, really well. The preparation's been good. We've come over together yesterday. Preparation today has been terrific. They're really looking forward to getting out there and redeeming themselves from last week.
Well, yeah, you did express disappointment through the week of the loss, and would it be fair to say that you're looking at perhaps some of the senior players to step up a bit and match the standard that some of the younger boys showed last week?
Yeah, no, it's pleasing signs from Fiore and Hall and Poise. We hope to see them improving, and young Andy Cracker's getting a chance to play in front of his home crowd. We've got 2 youngsters in Dave Roden and Chris Newman playing, but our senior players, we really need them to step up tonight as well.
All right, thanks for joining us. Good luck, Danny.
Thank you, Tiffany.
So Danny Frawley there with Tiffany Cherries. We look inside the Richmond rooms. A build up to the big game, round 2 of the Wizard Cup. West Coast versus Richmond at Subiaco.
Matthew Richardson and Brad Ottens need a big game out of them tonight, Jason. They were pretty disappointed. They got frustrated down in Geelong last week. The Cats midfielders really harassing the Tiger midfielders, and the delivery up forward for the Tigers, very, very disappointing, and that's the key. They've got to get on top of the Eagles midfield here, Carl.
Well, what happened? 1 goal last week. Those guys have got to have a much bigger impact on a game of football.
Andrew Kellaway was their leading goal kicker.
Yeah, now these 2 are very very highly revered. Who will take them? McIntosh, Djakovic. They've been challenged during the week by John Worsfold to come out and play some of their old football, some of the great football that they were recognised for, and so be interested to see where they will actually line up those guys tonight.
And a big crowd expected here tonight, Jason. The local chicken treat outlet manager, who's very keen about his Eagles, says there'll be 25,000. Now, Carl and I are leaving you for the call. I just want to know whether Carl's going to get out the gold lame suit to start firing everyone up.
It's gone for the year. Thanks very much to Fox for that, I think. They've got me out of that one, but no, that's been housed, it's been put in the cupboard, and mothballs, plenty of those.
Well, tell us about the build-up, though, here in Perth this week. In Melbourne, obviously, footy's at fever pitch right now. What about here in Perth?
Oh, look, it's been outstanding. I think there's plenty of interest. The speculation is very good. The thought, I think, of having a few of the favourite sons back. Not only is John Worsfold back, he's teamed up with Guy McKenna and Peter Simic, all 92 premiership players. We're going into the 10th season since we won the premiership, so there's plenty of celebration going on as well.
Well, Carl Clinton, thanks for joining us for the Fox Footy Pre-Game Show. We're back after the break with Dennis Cometti to preview the action.
It's the West Coast Eagles at home to Richmond the Tigers. Last week, first week of the competition, the West Coast Eagles, impressive winners against Carlton. Unfortunately, Jason, Richmond lacks some fire in their game against the Cats.
Yes, Dennis, and Danny Frawley's a big believer in club culture. He came out in the press during the week and said it was a very un-Richmond-like performance, and you can expect some fire from them tonight.
Let's check the respective squads then, beginning with the West Coast Eagles, and they welcome back Ashley McIntosh, number 11. Incidentally, made his debut against the Tigers back in 1991. Number 20, Dean Cox. Interesting player, big man. Good job on the ball last week, releasing Michael Gardner to go forward. Looking at the remainder of their list, number 40, Troy Wilson, a danger on the forward line last week. We saw some strong marking from him. He kicked 5 goals. They'll want more of that tonight. And Brent Tuckey, well, what a roller coaster ride he's had. He trained, as we heard earlier, with the Western Bulldogs during the off-season, was formerly at Collingwood, delisted suddenly off the rookie list of the Eagles, on the senior list with the Eagles now, and 3 goals last week. And Jason, what about the Tigers?
Well, we know that the Tigers relied heavily on Brad Ottens and Matthew Richardson last year. They're twin towers up forward. This year they've recruited some flair and some creativity to the forward line. Number 17, you see there, Paul Hudson. He's one of the greats of all time when it comes to kicking goals, and the Tigers are expecting him to use plenty of burst power up forward, some creative action at ground level, and he will certainly be a dangerous player up for them, as well as Adam Houlihan, a similar sort of a player, Dennis, they've picked up from Geelong. They'll be looking for much of the same from Adam Houlihan. 2 blokes who can run around at the feet of their twin towers and kick some goals at ground level.
He kicked a few goals last year for Geelong on this ground against the Fremantle Dockers. The Heat will make it tough tonight, no question about that. We've got the West Coast Eagles and the Tigers, and all of the action just waiting around the corner. Glorious night here in Perth for Game 3 in Group 3 of the Wizard Cup. The Eagles and the Tigers, clear blue sky. As we head towards nightfall, obviously the West Coast Eagles very happy with their opening week. The breeze coming almost across the ground. It's a southwester blowing down towards the left full forward pocket at the city end of the ground. The umpires tonight, Scott McLaren, did the grand final last year. David Corcoran, who is on the AFL list, and 2 young West Australians, Mark Fussell and Dean Margetts, both being trialled at the present time. Mentioned that victory last week. The West Coast Eagles accounted for Carlton by 35 points at Optus Oval, while the Cats, far too good for Richmond, 24 points the margin at Baytech Stadium. And last season, Richmond defeated the Eagles by 39 points in round 5 and 65 in round 20 as we go down to the boundary on this glorious night and say good evening to Tiffany Cherry. Hello, Tiffany.
Yes, well, thanks. As you can see, sorry, hang on a minute.
Okay, Tiffany with 1 or 2 technical problems down there. Maybe John Worsfold is in a wheel. Let's go down to Mark Reddings.
Yes, thanks, Dennis. Well, as you said, a very big crowd building up on a very pleasant night for football. And the West Coast Eagles, as part of their 6-man interchange bench, including 3 very young players. Chris Judd, of course, their first draft choice, and 2 other first-gamers, Ashley Sampi and Ashley Hansen. John Worsfold, his first game as coach, a little bit nervous, I'm sure, but he'd be keen to make it 2 from 2.
First home game as coach, eh? Seems to be Quite assured there, relaxed. And I'm joined by Jason and Ben, who were down on the boundary just moments ago. How was the weather down there?
Well, it's actually turned out to be quite a beautiful night, Ben, hasn't it? It was very hot in Perth all day, stifling heat when we first arrived at Subiaco, but since the shadows have come over the ground, it's very cool, it's very still, it's just about perfect.
Absolutely, Jace. I think Danny Frawley was a little bit concerned with regard to the heat, but no, it definitely has cooled off, and it's going to be an exciting game because both sides, you get the sense, really want to win this one.
Both sides without some key senior players this evening. The Tigers, of course, without Ben Holland, who injured a hamstring last week. They also go in without Chaffey, Hilton, Duncan Callaway, Rogers, Stafford and Vardy. While for West Coast, they're without Banfield, Embley, Phil Matera, Chad Morrison, Michael Pryor and David Sierakowski.
Just watching the West Coast Eagles come to the bench, I noticed Chris Judd is down there. That surprises me. He looked terrific last week, like a guy who'd been playing league football, senior football all his life, Ben.
Absolutely, he's definitely got a mature body for his age, Dennis. He's got, they reckon he's got 5 years. That was the talk around the recruiting table when he was picked up early in the draft last season, at the end of the year, I should say, and a very, very exciting young player.
Why is he idling then? If he's got 5 gears, why is he on the bench at the moment?
Maybe they realise it's such a long season, Dennis, but it's a bit hot. He'll get out there shortly, I'm sure.
Okay. So we've got 3 umpires. I mentioned 4 names. They're rotating 4. Not because of the conditions, just the way it's done in the Wizard Cup. Next week, Richmond play Carlton. The West Coast Eagles finish off the round against Geelong. So we're just about set to go. Michael Braun in the dugout as well for the West Coast Eagles. Back and played well last week against Carlton. There he is. Blonde hair, second from the right. Ashley Sampi. Played basketball actually with my son. Can play a heck of a game of basketball. Wonderful vertical leap. That's Ashley, not my son. Although, I live in hope.
Interesting, Dennis. The 2 guns from Richmond, Matthew Richardson and Brad Ottens, are both going down into the forward line, so expect Jakovic and Ash McIntosh to pick those 2 boys up.
And David Weir-Punda starting in the centre circle again, as we saw last week. So John Morsfold continuing his push to make David Weir-Punda into a quality midfielder for the Eagles.
I think it's important that he adds another string to his bow. We know he's a dashing half-back, but if he can be used at times similar to Jeff Farmer, I guess, in the midfield, that's good for the team. And we've got Darren Gaspar, undoubtedly one of the best defenders in the league. He's taking on Troy Wilson.
These uniforms very similar, as you can see. Ben Holland missing tonight from the Tigers. So we're set to go. Game 3 in Group 3. The West Coast Eagles at home against Richmond. Richmond wait for it. Cox knocks it down. Hall emerges with it. Campbell hurriedly onto the ball. It bounces inside the centre square down towards half-forward. Richo came up, met it hard. Hudson gets a hand pass away. King trying to control it. Still he goes. Gets the hand pass to Campbell. Campbell, well, that's interesting. Eventually goes back. Tippendale gets a hand pass. Hudson again, nicely worked. There goes the kick in from Zilla down towards the left full forward pocket, actually. Bounces adjacent to the behind post. And we've got the opening score.
Wasn't that pretty, Dennis? But the reason it was effective was the ball was still moving. It was in motion. It's very difficult to defend when the ball's in motion.
So McIntosh with the kick in, goes straight up the middle and finds Philip Reid. Had a knee reconstruction in the pre-season, missed all of 2001. The Eagles were keen to have him back. Brings the ball towards the member side, and the mark's taken just inside defensive 50 by Fletcher. So Chad Fletcher on the left boot, spears the pass and finds Rowan Jones just backward of the wing. So Jones wants to move the ball on quickly, kicks towards half forward. Miranda's there, up at the front of the contest was Gardner, brought the ball to ground. Chance here for West Coast, they got numbers. Munro, he's run down by Ray Hall. Pushed him in the back in the tackle. The free kick will come back to Munro as David Haynes is about to take off and have a shot on goal. Umpire calls it back and he'll have a kick from about 65 metres out.
Just needed to turn his shoulders. He tried to Ray Hall then, just on that occasion, but just not quite perfect in his technique.
So Munro wants to bring the ball inboard. And does, successfully. Finds Daniel Kerr. Fantastic 2001 from the youngster. Switches play to the far side. Chance for West Coast to go forward here inside 50. Gardner presents himself and takes the mark despite some pressure from Bowden. And Michael Gardner has a shot on goal from about 55 to 60 metres out.
Ray Hall, of course, was on the mark on the other side of the ground, which allowed Gardner to sprint off and receive that pill. It's a big ask for Ray Hall. We know he had a pretty good season last year. Played around 17 matches in only his second game, but a big ask to play on Gardner.
So Michael Gardner can thump a football. He'll have to kick this from 55 metres out, right half forward. Kick on its way. Hasn't got the legs. They'll contest at the top of the goal square. Up goes Jones. Got hands to it. Now it's being paid. Jones got hands to the football, but I think the mark has been paid.
Looked like Jones had first purchase on that. We'll just have a look at the replay. He looked like he came in from the side, but I think if you had a front-on angle at that, Jones, it was a good decision by the umpire. Tucky certainly had purchase, and what a recruit this boy could turn out to be. He's impressed John Worsfold in the pre-season build-up, and obviously only playing the one game for Collingwood last year, but just impressed with his work rate.
So Tucky won the raffle against Rowan Jones. He spent the summer training with the Western Bulldogs, and he kicks the first goal of the game.
Well, that's a great start from West Coast at home. We know Worsfold only in his second ever coaching match, and for him to get a good solid start, I just think the Gardner at centre half forward opposed to Ray Hall is going to be a critical one in this match. Already Gardner having an impact on that goal and on that entry into the forward line. Ray Hall needs to be on his get his marching shoes on and stick with him.
Ruckman,
Eagles by 5 points the early going. Umpire Fussell to restart play in the innermost circle. Sounds mysterious. Cox goes up, backhands it down. Zilla's in the road, takes on the tackle, got a hand pass away. Tawney flicks it out the back somehow. Hall trying to emerge with it. Eventually Fletcher gets a hand pass away to Cousins. Kerr hurriedly onto the boot. Down towards half forward. Narenda spiked forward by Matera. Fiora chops it off for the Tigers, gets a hand pass away. Kellaway, now they'll bring it away. Tawney spots Zantuck. Zantuck's at right half back. He kicks it up towards the wing. Poyas in front. Couldn't hang on. Warapunda treads the right, fantastic, and slips away. Around the boundary towards the pocket. Gaspar was up. Chance behind for Wilson. On the full. And so did the boundary umpire.
So Gaspar will relieve from the back pocket. He goes short. He finds his skipper Wayne Campbell by hand to Leon Cameron, the architect from half back. Kicks inboard and finds Fiora in space through the middle. He's got some space to run here, but he left the football behind. Has some time to go back and gather. Material runs him down from behind. Zilla got the handball away, but now he's under pressure. Great pressure in there from West Coast, and they force the turnover. Jones to Cox. Can they make them pay going forward? Cousins spins out of a tackle, brilliantly played from 55, puts it out in front of Wilson. Gets there on the half volley, didn't get a kind bounce, and Darren Gaspar should clear for the Tigers.
Towards half-back, Fiora slips, gets to his feet, takes the mark. Short one is on, inside the centre square. Kellaway, by hand, Campbell, meters in the clear. Down towards half-forward, not a good kick. Full-chested, Richardson took the pace off it. They to Jakovic. Jakovic towards half-forward, Warapunda couldn't hang on. Ooh, but lucky, he's getting a free kick. Pushing the back, says the umpire. Warapunda forward of the wing. Tucky comes on a lead, it goes in that direction. He's got it now. He's about 45 metres out, Brent Tucky. Already he's booted one goal. This will be a tester.
I think he prefers, he obviously prefers the closer ones, Dennis.
Don't we all?
Yeah, he does, but a couple of boys in the past, like Peter Sumich, actually preferred to take them from the 50-metre line, but I don't think Brett Tucky is one of those such players. I think this distance may test him.
Cross Breeze needs to start this one at the right-hand goal post, or even a metre outside. Going to the second for the West Coast Eagles. Well, obviously my voice doesn't carry. It's a behind. Margin is 6 points.
Oi, come back!
So gone almost 6.5 minutes in this opening term. It's round 2 of the Wizard Cup for 2002, live from Subiaco. It'll be Leon Cameron to bring it in for the Tigers. West Coast setting up a zone defence. Umpire tells Cameron to move it on. He decides to go straight up the middle. He's got a couple of options. One of them is Tivendale, who takes the mark.
Yeah, it was a nice kick in there, and actually I reckon he's the best kick out in the league.
So Leon himself and found Tivendale under pressure from Haynes. Loops it over the top now to Cameron, who ran for him, trying to create something. Miranda tries to shut him down, but he's got a man inboard. It's Clinton King. Thought about the 1-2, decided to go himself. The kick towards 50 wasn't great. Chance for West Coast. Green had his hands on it for a moment. Cox back to Green. Now to Philip Reid. Can West Coast set up from half-back? They've got some men in space. One of them's Jones. Hands off to the exciting Peter Matera. Spears inside 50, but over the head of Troy Wilson, and pretty easily tidied up by Ray Hall for the Tigers.
This is Knights on the outer side. Twisting, turning, told to play on into his right side, surprisingly, and pays the penalty. Jones has got it, comes to Gardner. He can run inside the 50 and kick a goal. Well, not with that kick. It's a shocker out of bounds in the left full forward pocket. Why Knights meandered onto his right-hand side, I've got no idea, but from then it was all downhill.
There was great pressure from Peter Matera all the same, Dennis. And interesting, while Knights had the ball, Ray Hall, Michael Gardner's respective opponent, was trying to create play further up the ground. Turnover, Gardner got an easy ball back the other way.
And you've got Paul with the AFL, Ben. Why aren't the Eagles wearing their away strip tonight?
Who knows, Dennis?
It's a sea of gold and black down there. Tossed in. Hall knocks it forward. Gardner goes after it. Bowden, his first touch across the line. Boundary throw in yet again.
This is an area where West Coast can really be dominant. Having Michael Gardner at centre half forward allows him to take all the boundary throw-ins in the forward half. He should be too strong for Ray Hall in these one-on-ones.
Hall's an up-and-comer though. He's got plenty of spring. Body to body, Gardner will do him. Get him right there. Ball jarred out of there. Miranda deep in the pocket, likes his chance. Gaspar takes it across the line.
Going to be hot to try on that, Dennis, because that was an absolute clear tap from Gard. It's a great luxury to have him at centre half forward. Dean Cox into the ruck just allows him to take all, and the amount of ball ups and boundary throw-ins in the forward half, there's quite a few, so they can be dominant and create some goals from that area.
So it's West Coast by 7 points. We've gone almost 9 minutes in this opening term. They've done all the attacking inside 50, 6-1 in favour of the Eagles at the moment. Gaspar has it in the defensive goal square. Switches play towards the member side of the ground, and the mark's taken by Ray Hall in space. Runs outside defensive 50, kicks towards the wing. It's over the head of the Jakovic-Richardson contest, and Jakovic pretty comfortably slots it towards the boundary line.
I reckon Matthew Richardson already has had 3 poor kicks delivered to him. They've all gone over the top of his head. It's allowed Glenn Jakovic to get in on the contest.
So throw in, just forward of the wing on the member's side here at Subiaco. It's West Coast by 7 points, 9.5 minutes gone. Neither ruckman timed the tap out. Chance here for the Tigers through Hudson. Working hard at ground level. He went again. Farmed it out, but only as far as Fletcher for West Coast. Kicks towards half forward. A chance. It's a 2-on-1 Richmond's favour. Working hard as Munro for the Eagles to try and force the ball up. In the end, he did exactly that.
It was good play from young Munro, but the one thing he did was he fell on the ground. If he'd kept his feet, it would have allowed him the ability to perhaps take the tackle and dish it off by hand, but on the ground he's not much good down there.
So a ball up. Gardner to Miranda, had it, lost it, had it again, got rid of it. Kicks towards half forward, and the mark is taken by Haynes. Probably too far out to score. He'll have to kick this at least 55 or 60 metres.
He's not a bad kick though. I'd back him in rather than Tucky from this distance, Jace. I think he'll go close.
And he's liking his chances too, lining it up. Ray Hall and Gardner drift back to the goal line. So David Haynes from North Warrnambool from 55 metres out, makes good contact. It's going to go right to the line. The big pack will fly. Spills to ground level. Ball still alive. Chance for West Coast. Twisting and turning. Well wrapped up there by Bowden.
So on the ball,
I think it was Troy Wilson. And the ball finds the boundary.
It's gone underground. I mean, the question there is whether it was a legitimate tackle laid onto Troy Wilson and whether in fact he disposed of it correctly.
This is scarifying, that's what it is. Boundary throw in, deep in the pocket. What a fight on that one. Miranda, hurriedly, Tawney. This is Knights, running up towards half-back, intent on drawing a man. Tivendale arches the back, that's ambitious. Scorponder almost got him. Tivendale towards half-forward. Running behind Richardson, the plum this time. Richardson feeds it back. On the outer side, Tivendale, who's run hard, kicks it for a more central location. Plenty of Eagles there. Cox dropped the mark. Hand passes away to Matera. Matera lost it. Fletcher's quick hands. McIntosh, his first touch. Cox up from the back pocket. Gets the hand pass away. This is Jakovic. Jakovic around the outer side, under pressure. Did nicely. Green the hand pass on the overlap is Reid. Reid towards midfield, and the mark is taken by Jones. Bounces to his feet in more ways than one. Kicks inside the 50. Gaspar lunges. My word, he needed to hang on there. Had that trickled out, Wilson was a chance.
He read that beautifully off the boot though, Dennis.
So Gaspar versus Wilson, already looming as a fascinating contest in this game. The kick towards half-back. Clinton King in the best position for the Tigers. working at ground level, farms out a handball. Campbell not much on, just tries to gain territory around the boundary line. Ball didn't go out, it's still alive. Zilla had his pocket picked by Cousins. Bit of heavy work out there on the outer side. Cousins is down. And the umpire comes in and halts play.
He's in for a hard night too, Ben Cousins, because it looks as if Stephen Zilla or maybe Clinton King may be going to him. Looked like he caught one here, Ben.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Wayne Campbell, I think it was, coming in. Looked like it was fair though.
It did, didn't it? The arm came out late after the contact.
Yep.
Well, here's the danger man as far as the Tigers are concerned. Gardner wins the tap. Knight's first onto it for Richmond. He too looks for territory and finds it out on the outer wing.
That is an area of concern. If I was Richmond and Danny Fall, I'd actually entice a third player into those one-on-ones with Gardner and Ray Hall, because Gardner's clearly dominant.
So a throw in on the outer side. It's West Coast by 7 points, 1-2 to a behind. We've gone 13 minutes in the opening term. Round 2 Wizard Cup action. The tap spilt. It's on the centre wing on the outer side. Weir Punda. Quick little handball to Kerr. Onto Peter Matera. Spears the pass towards Gardner and finds him 65 metres out at right half forward. Wants to move it on quickly. Looking at his options inside 50. He's not certain. He decides he'll take it inboard to Matera, who more often than not chooses the right option. Kick wasn't great. Set Miranda up. Dives on top of it. Cameron wraps him up. The umpire comes in for a bounce.
Mine. Thank you.
So we'll have a bounce about 45 metres out from West Coast goal.
Coming straight out the back here. Ruckman, give us a bit.
They've done most of the attacking in this opening term. 9 inside 50s to 2. The tap down. Cousins spins out of trouble. Runs to 35 metres out, but couldn't finish off his exciting work. He sprayed it to the left-hand side and missed a lot. So it's West Coast 1-2. Richmond 1 behind.
Last time out of the middle he went right. That time he went left. Man to tackle. There's Knights. Told to play on. Tawney. Metres in the clear. Hall is moving for him. Hall's got it now. What will Hudson do? Hudson goes in short, bypassed. Richardson, the long target. Jakovic reaches over the top. Taken by Reid, held a long time. Casey Green comes away. Drives it back towards half forward. Gardner set a task. Awkward bounce. Twirly took him on. And the ball's out of bounds. Boundary thrower. Chris Judd.
Dennis, you're about to get your wish. Chris Judd is about to come onto the ground for his first run for the evening.
Hard to pick the gear just yet. 1-2 to a behind. And the skipper is off for the Tigers. On the outer side, free kick to Jason Tawney. He's putting a good tan. Told to play on. They've got 15 seconds. Otherwise, they're called to play on as the kick goes down towards half forward. Cox missed it. Richardson tried to knock it goalward. Trapped by Jakovic. That was clever from the kneeling position. Socketed it up towards the wing. Coming through Zilla. Doesn't take any prisoners. Charges on. Applies a tackle on Fletcher. Bowden dragged down. Jones got him. This is King. Slips the hand pass away. Taken by Knights. One way, then the other, then fell over. Comes back to support. Houlihan. Feigns a hand pass. Gets it away. This is Knights. Hard against the boundary line. 75 metres from goal. Sets it up. Drifting back. Missed by Wooden. Knocked to the boundary line. Jakovic. Boundary throw in. 8 plays 1.
Boys, skipper Wayne Campbell did come off. He's only going to come off for a few minutes, so just giving him a quick rest because of his recent bout of tonsillitis.
He was replaced by Adam Houlihan, who featured in that last passage of play. So it's in the left forward pocket for the Tigers. Their first real scoring opportunity. West Coast working hard towards the boundary line. Good play there from Philip Reid. There's plenty of feeling in this game, Ben, early on. Both sides know it's a big game.
Yeah, they both want to win, but I like the look of Phil Reid coming off a knee reconstruction. He doesn't have that knee strapped at all, which is a great sign and good for his own confidence.
So Ottens versus Cox. They both try to slap it to the same position. Ottens' kick was partly intercepted. Came out from Green to Peter Matera towards the wing. Houlihan tried to take Fletcher on. It was a 2-on-2. And his handball found the target in Knights. Gets it to Tivendale. Onto Andrew Callaway by hand. Runs to the front edge of the centre square and kicks towards the goal square for the Tigers. Flying from behind was Bowden. Tidying up was Casey Green for West Coast. Scrubs a kick towards the boundary line, but no harm done. We'll have another throw in at left half forward for the Tigers.
So we'll persist though. Rich, wasn't a great kick from Callaway. Wasn't to Richardson's advantage, but they'll persist. They'll keep bombing it in there.
So Ottens again goes against Cox. Peter Matera's been busy early. Got the handball out, but only as far as Tivendale. Tried to use Houlihan. Handball was a bit slick. There's been a free kick plucked out. It's going to the Tigers, and more particularly, it's going to Greg Tivendale for some interference. So Tivendale has a raking left boot. He's just outside 50. And he kicks towards the goal square. Chance here for Richardson at the front. Got one hand to it, never a chance to mark. Ottens works hard at ground level. Plenty of West Coast players, and Jakovic just grabs it and emerges. Kicks it outside 50. Tawney gathers for the Tigers. He's got a man in support at Zantuck. Twist one way and back the other. And then goes to snap it inside 50. Poyas will fly it, spills off the hands of Ottens. Here comes Jakovic charging through for West Coast.
Relishing the challenge tonight. Jakovic to Matera. We've said that before. In short. Mark is taken by Fletcher. Wants to play on. Does. This is Reed. Back from a knee reconstruction across the ground. Judd just onto the ground. Awkward half volley. Pitches away from him. Kerr, a champion rookie last season, has got it. Shepherded by Judd. Kerr back towards the middle. Miranda in space can take it and go. Mark Miranda alongside the centre circle, taking plenty of time. Sets it up for Wilson. Gaspar will come. Got it on the ground. Kellaway falls to the ground. From his knees he hand passes out wide. First to arrive is King. Shrugs one tackle. Take it in the second. Got it away to Hall. Hall kicks it up towards the wing. Tawney plays on immediately. Feeds it towards the middle. Houlihan forward of the wing towards centre half forward. Poyas, almost a clever mark. Was he held? No free kick. Wooden comes away. Runs up towards the middle. Josh Wooden at the centre circle. Goes in short. Awkward one there for Gardner. Tawney again. Over the top. Kellaway off a step. Goes out wide. King takes it on the half volley. Kicks through the wing towards half forward. Poyas just inside the field of play.
So the Tigers have got control of the football for the last few minutes, but nothing to show on the scoreboard. Terrible kick from Poyas. Wooden has no trouble clearing up, and West Coast should come out of defence through Cox. Wants to switch it towards the members' side. Kick wasn't great, but Philip Reid made it look better than it was. He's got Campbell to beat, and he's pretty happy to take it towards the boundary line, and then just let Wayne Campbell know what he thinks of him. Plenty of spirit, great atmosphere at Subiaco. It's West Coast 1-2-8. The Tigers one behind. We've gone 19 and a quarter minutes in the opening term. Throw in. Smack bang on centre wing. Campbell at the front. Cox slapped it to behind. Dragicevic off to Cameron. Onto his right boot. Spears the pass. Chance here for the Tigers. It's Bowden. On the half volley, McIntosh wraps him up and will have a bounce.
Yeah, that was a brilliant bit of play. The one thing you can't do is afford Leon Cameron space when he's goal side of you. I mean, that kick is actually missed by about a millimetre on Joel Bowden's chest. Just brilliant set play from that boundary throw-in.
So Matthew Knight's on the boundary line there having a spell. Ezra Poyas also coming to the bench to be replaced by Pettifer. It's in the right forward pocket for the Tigers. But Rowan Jones, kick only as far as Richardson. From 48 metres on the boundary line. Set sails for home. But off one step, just misses to the right-hand side for the Tigers second behind. They're two behinds. West Coast are 1-2-8. We've kicked over 20 minutes in the opening term here at Subiaco.
Look, there's been a few dodgy kicks from players on both sides. I think when you get tired, you get that first wind blown out of your lungs. You can get tired and the lactic builds up. But they'll settle down. I'm sure the skills will improve.
Thank you, Josh. Teacher's pet. Wooden kicks in. And the mark is held just behind right half forward by Theora. A centering kick towards Hall. Out of position, the mark is taken by Matera. Matera quickly away. Wooden is pushed up. He's around the outer side. One bounce. Carries the ball towards the wing. Kicks down towards half forward. Almost a clever mark to Tucky, who was held. He's going to get the free. He provides an option. It's coming back to Tucky. Looks towards the middle. Short. Miranda. 55 metres out. Low-scoring affair. Eagles at home, leading by 6 points.
Sorry,
Mark Miranda. Went short, intended for Gardner. It's with Tawney now from Bowden. This is Campbell. Campbell comes across the ground. Judd, clever mark running with the front of the ball.
Great judgment from Judd. Chance to put West Coast back into attack. Just judged it the better than Pettifer on that occasion. A kick inside 50. A heavy clash between a couple of Eagles players. It spills to Zantuck at the back. Can he tidy up for Richmond? He's got a couple of players on. One of them's Cameron. To Gasper. Didn't see Braun coming, but then uses Tivendale by hand. He runs through the back edge of the centre square. Tries to take Matera on. Plenty have tried and failed over the years, but he got it out wide.
Great kick.
And it was a great kick, and it found Matthew Richardson. So Richardson, centre wing, outer side of the ground, will go inside 50. Rowan Jones wrestles his man. Bowden got both hands to it, but it spilt to ground level, and the numbers were with West Coast. Cox to Weirpunda. One way and then the other. A high up and under kick towards the wing. The mark's taken by Djakovic. So Peter Matera, leading stat getter on the ground at the moment for West Coast. He's had 9 touches, Rowan Jones 8. For the Tigers, Campbell and Tawney have 7 apiece as Miranda comes to the bench for a spell. Michael Gardner has it at ground level on the outer side. Little handball towards Philip Reid. He looks towards the line.
Great
and
tackle.
as the umpire said, no chance, held to him.
Yeah, it was a great tackle from, I think it was Sevic then. He just got his knees and his body very, very close to Philip Reid and allowed him no space with which to try and get off. Great technique at the tackle.
So Hall gets the tap down. Braun suckers it off the ground again, meterage for his side. And it dribbles over the line for yet another throw in.
And Jason, a big moment for Ashley Sampi coming onto the ground for his first run in AFL footy.
Mark Miranda around the boundary line. Hall reaching over the top. Clean possession. Already Campbell. Campbell hoists it very high. Gains about 30 metres. That's about all. Almost the clever mark to Houlihan. Tippendale out of the congestion. Kicks inside the 50. Well played by Bowden, or he thought so. Chance for Pettifer. Nipped very solidly. High, says the umpire. Will go against Cox. Pettifer will get the free, I think, for the Tigers. On the siren. No free kick. Obviously he was going to throw it up, was he, Bill?
I actually think it was a free kick to Cox, Dennis. I think Cox was the one who got it right.
Okay, well, that surprises me. Glenn Djakovic, circa 1994 in that first term, looked terrific, and so did Peter Matera. 1-2 to 2 behinds. West Coast on top. Matera's been busy. Campbell spent some time on the bench, but still picked up 8 possessions. Quarter time. West Coast 1-2-8 on top of the Tigers, 2 behinds. Quarter time in the Wizard Cup from Subiaco Oval. Ben Cousins cops a hard knock here.
His eye on the ball though, didn't he, Dennis? Look, it's pre-season, but you're copping those knocks. That's a very, very heavy knock. But Campbell did the right thing, kept his elbow in.
Looked worse than it was. The arm came up very late after contact had been made. 1-2 to 2 behinds, our quarter-time score. Let's go down to Tiffany Cherry.
Thank you, Ellen. I have Dale Waitman with me, 5-time Richmond captain. And Dale, also, now you found yourself playing for the Tigers, but now you're actually running for the Tigers, and it's pretty hot out there. How are you finding it?
Oh, not bad. When this breeze comes along, it's all right, but the players will adapt to it. They're all pretty fit. They're all done the pre-season, so they should be right.
Boys finding it a little bit hard looking at the scoreline to get the ball on the forward line?
Yeah, I think both sides are struggling a bit to kick goals. I think West Coast had more of the ball then, and we actually were lucky enough to keep them down to 1 goal. If we win more of the ball, we hopefully control a bit more of the game and kick a few more goals.
And I just saw Hudson come off and change his boots. Is it a little bit slippery out there?
I don't think so. I think it's perfect. The ground's in pretty good nick. I think he might have sore feet. That's all I mainly think.
All right, get back to the bench. Thanks for joining us. Yes.
Let's check some numbers on the opening term.
So the disposal's pretty even there, 77 to 74 in favour of West Coast, and Ben, 11 inside 50s to 10, but as we say, it's been pretty tough going once the ball's got inside 50.
Yeah, I think the quality of possession into the 50 has been poor, but we know it's only the second game that these boys have played under real match conditions. That'll improve, I expect, as actually the game wears on. Peter Matera had a couple of chances to set some goals, but a few boys are a bit skew with on the kicks.
Hardly a goal feast so far. Started the second term at Subiaco Oval, game 3 in Group 3. The Eagles and the Tigers. Hall over the top this time, changing his tactics, but to no avail. Cousins kicks inside the 50. Gardner takes the mark on his chest. Michael Gardner could kick this, sheltered by the stand. Goes from 55, telling kick. It's got enough distance. Wrong side of the post.
They made a move on Gardner. I think it may have been Leon Cameron that started that centre bounce opposed to Gardner. You might think that's different, but Gardner was getting a number of balls on the lead. Ray Hall started that quarter in the ruck.
So the kick in comes to the member side, and the mark's taken in the back pocket by Andrew Callaway. His 6th possession for the evening. 1-2 to 2 behinds. West Coast 1-2 8 on top of the Tigers, 2 behinds.
1-2
to 2 behinds. Goes short and finds Fiora at defensive 25. Called to play on now. Comes back onto his left boot, his preferred side. Spots up Cameron on the half volley to Tivendale. Streaming through the middle. Goes short and finds Ray Hall forward to centre wing. Tivendale continues to run. That's good support play. He's had 2 bounces. He's run to 52 metres on the left boot. Just started it out to the left-hand side, and it just clips the behind post on the full. So West Coast with a resultant free kick.
Yeah, that's the type of possession that I'm talking about. Just that quality possession into the forward half hasn't been quite what one would expect. Tivendale in a couple of weeks will nail that.
So the kick to the outer side, it's Braun. Goes with a handball to Wooden. In space, towards half forward. Looking for Sampi, slipped through his fingers. Tawny there to tidy up. And he heads to the boundary line. And you don't get 2 opportunities at this level. Slips through the fingers and the defender's all over it in a hurry.
Look, he'd be nervous. There's just no question about that. That was his first touch of the footy. He's just happy to be out there. He'll improve as the game wears on as well.
So the Eagles by a goal. Just under 2 minutes gone in this second term. Gardner goes up and wins the tap. Shark by Dragicevic to Bowden. Onto his left side. Kicks into the centre of the ground. Leon Cameron gets the bouncing ball. Turns Sampi around and gives a handball to Bowden, who ran for him. Will now go inside 50. His target's Ottens. McIntosh stands shoulder to shoulder and punches it to ground. Braun takes it outside defensive 50 and finds the boundary line.
Gee, that was great play by McIntosh. His first game this year. Ottens had the sit on him. We thought he'd be able to push him under the footy, but McIntosh, just with his pure strength, was able to be body on body and just got his fist to the ball.
So throw in just outside 50 for the Tigers. Taking a left of screen in this second term. Ottens tried to take it out of the ruck contest, was dragged to ground. Play-on's the call. Campbell piles in on top of it. Wooden wraps him up and will have a bounce.
It's interesting that Ray Hall started that quarter in the centre in the ruck, and after the centre bounce he's actually drifted back down onto Gardner in the true centre back position.
Tossed up, 55 metres out. Ottens with a backhander. Kerr taken down. Bayon's the call. Carried forward. Still no free kick. McIntosh hard against the boundary line. High ball. Coming across is Tawny. He's played well. Takes the mark on his chest. Wants to go. Cameron finds the footy. Kellaway alongside the centre circle. Towards half forward goes the kick. On the lead, Joe Bowden. 55 metres out. If he goes for distance,
he can hoof it, Dennis. He had a fantastic season last year. I think he kicked around 26 goals for the season. Very unlucky not to be All-Australian, and got his confidence up. He'll go close. I reckon he'll dob it.
He'll be exhausted by the time he gets there. It's a long run. Very high kick. Has it got the carry? Just wide of the mark. Good effort behind. He knew it was going to be touch and go. Often players just veer out to the left as they try and get an extra 5 or a 10. So he knows very much his own capabilities. Josh Wooden to bring it in. 1-2 plays 3 points. Goes to the outer side. Good kick too. Knights, what can he do there? Jakovic punches it on. Taken by Kellaway. Bowden's got it again. Cameron on the overlap. Kicks inside the 50 this time. Richardson, Ottens. It was Ottens that time. Awkward half volley. Opportunity for Casey Green. Ottens had it knocked away by Kerr. In goes Cousins. Zilla tried to get back to Ottens. Kerr working hard. Zilla sits on it. Not bad tactics. Fires it up and will have a throw up about 35 metres out. Directly in front of the Tigers' goal. They trail by 6 points.
Leon Cameron's starting to have an influence, Dennis. He's sweeping across the half-back line. Sampi is his opponent. Just be smart. Just go negative on Cameron for a couple of minutes.
The Tigers have dominated the clearances so far in this game. It's 11-6 in their favour. But here's Judd for West Coast with some poise. Didn't panic when he got the football, found some space, put it out in front of Weirpunda. A one-on-one battle with Tawny. Weirpunda cleverly tucked it to his own advantage. Runs away from Pettifer. Happy to take him on with a bounce. Shows the football to Andrew Kellaway. Then swings onto his right boot, goes inside 50. It's a 2-on-2 contest. Wilson working hard at ground level, paddles it forward. But Gaspar has been solid all night. The handball wasn't great. There's Weirpunda again. Tucky brought to ground. Judd keeps it alive to Sampi. Little left foot snap around the corner. Wilson in best position, but Gaspar somehow came in, bodied him out of it and took a very, very clever mark.
That is a brilliant mark. He knew he was out of position then. He just went back. He understood where Troy Wilson was, read the ball beautifully, but fantastic mark from Gaspar.
So Gasper to Zantuck, towards the wing, out of side. Knights just work Wooden under the football, gives a handball to Houlihan. Steps around Cousins, trying to be too fancy, and now he's lost it. Wooden to Cousins. The handball wasn't great there either. Cousins butters up. There's a free kick. It's advantage West Coast. The ball goes towards centre half forward. Bowden flies. Brings the ball to ground. Has support in Zantuck. He's run out of space. Numbers there for West Coast also. Matera sockers it to his own advantage. Off the front edge of the centre square, Matera gets back onto his preferred right boot. Long kick to an open goal square. It's bouncing. It's bouncing to the right-hand side. And in the end, misses the lot.
It was his only option really, because Troy Wilson had come right up the ground and virtually had gone past Peter Matera. Tawney was dropping back and he had to kick about a 55-metre goal off a couple of steps. Too bigger ask for Peter Matera.
Marvellous though by Peter Matera, running in a straight line through that ball. Ruapunda gets it from Gardner, dribbles the goal. Second one for the Eagles.
Well, that's the classic example of what I was talking about before, where the West Coast can gain an advantage simply by having Michael Gardner in the ruck. He's got the front position. Ray Hall needs to get inside him. Ruapunda on the burst, no one in front of him. There needed to be a couple of Tigers on goal side of David Ruapunda. I tell you, guys like that, you just can't stop him, can't give him any space, but it came from Michael Gardner, pure and simple.
So in a tight contest, goals worth their weight in gold. West Coast have two of them. They're 2-3-15. Richmond 3 behinds. We've gone almost 7.5 minutes in the second term. Hope you're enjoying round 2 Wizard Cup action here at Subiaco Oval. Gardner and Hall. Plenty of players swarm around it in the centre of the ground. And the umpire has little choice but to ping the Richmond player for holding the ball. That wasn't actually the choice I thought he was going to make, as Judd goes inside 50. And the mark is taken there by young Sampi. Right on 50. Squares it up looking for Rowan Jones. Just had too much carry on the ball. Tries to keep it alive. Steps around Tawney. He's deep in the right forward pocket. Sets sail for home. But getting back there to cover was Ty Zantuck, and he rushes it through for a behind.
Boys, the physio just ran out to Jason Tawney. Then it seemed he got a knock on his leg, so they're just monitoring him.
Bowden to himself, and now Cameron. Young Hanson on the ground, replacing Troy Wilson. This is Tivendale. Bowden cruising up through midfield now. Intelligent kick, Knights on the bounce. Dragicevic on the overlap, kicks inside the 50, a probing kick. Otten's hand to it. Well played, McIntosh falling to the ground, thumps it out wide. Pettifer outside the 50 with plenty of company. Fletcher got there quickly and the ball's out of bounds, so a boundary throw in.
And Dennis, with the tempo of this game stepping up, the conditions still very trying. I guess you could say the interchange bench will be used more frequently throughout the course of the night.
Tossed in, just outside the 50. Ottens was held, was he? Wait for the umpire to adjudicate, yes.
He must have seen a jumper being tugged then, Des, because, look, there wasn't much in that, and the only thing that Ottens, I guess, could say was he retained the front position, and when you're in the front position, if there's any chance of getting a free, you should get it.
Must have been pretty blatant. I saw it, Ben. There goes the kick from Ottens. Coming across the path of the leading Richardson was Matera. Jakovic twisting, turning, taking plenty of time. Chips it out. Cousins did well, gave a contest. Ottens waiting behind, too slick. Intended for Bowden. It trickles out of bounds. And the boundary throw in. 10 possessions now to Peter Matera. Tivendale has 11 for the Tigers. Mark Miranda, a former Tiger, limbering up on the boundary.
So it's West Coast by 13 points, approaching the 10-minute mark in this second term. Ottens, a double-handed slap to the front of the contest. Bowden in there working hard for the Tigers. The umpire's plucked out a free kick. It's going to West Coast. For too high in that contest. Peter Matera pumps out a handball towards Braun. Tries to step around Knight. Stood up in the tackle. Goes the handball back to Matera. Has to throw it onto his right boot in a hurry. Cousins there, being hassled out of it by Zilla. Cracker. Handball to Knight. Steps around a couple of tackles. Trying to get around the third one. In the end, umpire deemed him to have been throwing the ball. And West Coast create the turnover at right half back. So he's ambitious from Knights. Got himself in a bit of strife. Got around the first tackler. But in the end, Jones just pinned one of his hands and he had no option but to throw it. Peter Matera towards half forward. Gardner spills to the back. Dragicevic goes to ground with Kerr. Dragicevic forced up to his feet. Got it to Hall.
But he's got no space to work in, and the ball goes out for a throw-in.
Peter Matera moving very nicely at this stage of the season. He's already up to 12 possessions, so he's been damaging.
Daniel Kerr off, replaced by Mark Miranda back into the action. Straight on to Mark Dragicevic. Ottens wins the tap. Knight picks it up. Clever little handball out to Zilla. Kick towards half forward. Favours Casey Green for West Coast. Glides around onto his right boot. Chips it short and finds Jakovic, who's back with a centre wing. Adam Houlihan stands the mark. West Coast by 13 points. 11 and a half minutes gone in this second term. Jakovic towards half forward. Bowden stood his ground, judged it well and took the mark.
Boys, young David Roden has just run on for his first senior appearance for the Tigers.
It's an exciting moment for David Roden. Pregame ball. He's got a bad play off the ball. And the free kick, I believe, is going to Ottens. He was trying to lay the shepherd against Rowan Jones. So we'll do it all again. Bowden takes it, goes wide and finds Knights just inside the boundary line. Knights will go towards half forward. He's got a man on in space. It's Houlihan. He drifts back. And Wooden was caught under the contest there. Adam Houlihan kept his eyes on the ball. He knew if he wasn't going to mark it, then he was going to get a free kick.
Absolutely. It was good play from Darren Gaspar to create a 2-on-1 situation. Just caused Wooden enough doubt in his mind not to go for that mark. Great play from Gaspar running down from the halfback line.
So Adam Houlihan played 61 games for the Cats from 1997 to 2001. Had a fantastic 2000, but was disappointing last season.
Interestingly, they picked both he and Paul Hudson up from other clubs. Both two goal sneaks, capable of kicking a number of goals. I let Nick Daffy go, I understand that, but I just thought it was interesting that Flair would go for a bit of flair in their forward line.
So Houlihan, 75-39 in his career. So he's an accurate shot on goal. And makes no mistake here, the Tigers have their first.
Wasn't all that pleasant or flash off the boot from Houlihan, but it's a goal all the same. Just the depth of that kick from Matthew Knights. He realised that Gaspar was the free player there and allowed Houlihan to just take an easy mark in the end. But if that kick from Knights had been 1 metre either shallower, just see Houlihan running in, beautiful style. You just notice there's not much movement of the footy. Less movement, less mistakes.
Tigers get their first goal. They trail by 7 points. Adam Houlihan, who put in 5 goals for the Cats against Fremantle on this ground in round 8 last season. His shining light performance last year, really. As Jason said, a disappointing year overall. Down goes Tivendale, tackled by Braun. And we'll have a throw-up still inside the centre square. Approaching 40 minutes played, second term. Paul Hudson looking on in the foreground. Slapped out of there by Gardner. Getting through Fiora at close quarters to Kellaway. Had it slapped away. Matera, been wonderful. Falling to the ground, gets the hand pass out. Miranda on the wing, down towards half forward. Tucky, metres in the clear. 60 metres out, sends it high. Gardner going back, he should mark it. Good work off the pack there by Ruapunda. Gardner thought, I think there was going to be contact. There was none.
He braced himself, didn't he, Dennis? And all his leg hit was the air in front of him. He was expecting contact, as you said, and I reckon he braced himself, but fortunately spilled the mark.
Ruapunda had done all the hard work to block an opponent. But Cameron goes in short to the pocket. This is Tawney.
So inside 50s favouring the Tigers in the second term. It's 8-5, but they're still trailing the scoreboard by 8 points. 2-5-17 to 1-3-9. Approaching the 15-minute mark in this second term. Remembering in the Wizard Cup, it's 17.5-minute quarters plus time on. Tawney goes to defensive 45 and finds Brad Ottens.
It's a stop-start for Richmond at the minute. They're just waiting for someone to pop up. There's a chip out to Clinton King.
So he's got a man on in space and uses him now. It's Cameron. Tries to run away from Judd, but as we heard in the pre-game, he's a pretty quick player, Chris Judd. Ashley Judd. She's an actress. Back towards the wing. Jakovic. Ashley might be his nickname. Comes out to Braun. Braun towards half forward. Chance for Ruapunda at ground level. Springs to his feet. Pumps out a handball to Braun and keeps the football alive momentarily. Boundary umpire on hand to call for a throw-in.
He's just taken that out when he tried to kick that one on his left foot there, Michael Braun. Boundary umpire right on the spot.
So West Coast by 8 points. 16 minutes gone in this second term. A throw in. Gardner against Ottens. Ottens with the front position, tried to palm it down to Bowden, who tried to palm off a couple of tackles of his own. In the end, the best he could do was gain 10 metres for the side. We'll have another throw in.
Ben Cousins having a tough night. Stephen Ziller is running with him, and we know when there's a problem play from the opposition, Danny Frawley whacks Stephen Ziller straight onto that particular play. Ben Cousins only with the 5 possessions.
5 possessions for Cousins, averaging 27 a game in 2001. Braun, handball into space. Chambers to run on it. Rapunda in there working hard. Again bounces to his feet. There's a free kick being plucked out for holding the man. It's going West Coast way, and it's going to Mark Miranda. 45 metres out, Miranda on the boundary line. We see here on replay, Rapunda just so quick to get to his feet. Miranda held when he didn't have it by Ray Hall. Pretty obvious free, that one. And the umpire right on the spot. So Miranda, his 6th possession for the evening. From 45 metres out, kick on its way. No problem with the distance, but he started it across the face of goal, and it drifts over for one behind. West Coast edge further in front here at Subiaco. We've gone 17 minutes in the second term.
Just get the feeling this game will be all about the team that takes their chances. Both squandering a few at the moment, and the margin is 9 points. Approaching half-time. Cameron to Bowden. This is Tawney. Left half back, Tawney. King sold into trouble. Tivendale released though. Towards half forward. Fiora running down towards left half forward. Pettifer comes on the lead and gets there. That kick demanded a bit. Pettifer, a centering kick. Going back is Houlihan, but the umpire insisting he's gone wide of the mark, so the ball will come back.
So just watching Glenn Jakovic run with Matthew Richardson, and I'll tell you what, he looked very, very swift across the ground, which surprises me a little bit. He may have dropped a little bit of weight, Jacko, but in about a 40-metre sprint that Richardson had on when he was on the lead there, Jakovic was with him all the way.
Interesting, we saw Tawney coming off the ground. He's been very good on Rapunda. And for the moment at least, Kellaway has gone across to the speedster. Interesting matchup. Meanwhile, Pettifer, sharp angle. Distance shouldn't be a problem. Far post is the go. 35 metres out. Again, too shallow.
So missed opportunity for the Tigers. They moved to within 8 points. They moved to 1-4-10. West Coast at 2-6-18. Low scoring contest, but an entertaining one here at Subiaco. Rowan Jones accepts the mark from the kick in. Uses Ben Cousins, who's trying to get into the game. Bit of running support. Goes out wide towards Green, who judged it beautifully. Hands off to Braun towards half forward. Haynes caught out of position and gave away the free kick. He just had a hold of Ty Zantuk's jumper there. And the Richmond defender, son of Shane Zantuk, will take the free kick on defensive 50. So Ty Zantuk, 10 senior games for the Tigers. The kick was looking for King, missed him by a fair margin. Chance for the Eagles to make them pay through Green. He goes short and finds Gardner 65 metres out directly in front. Wants to move it quickly. It's an open goal square. It's going right towards the line. But as Ben Allen called, Richmond always had it covered. It was Ty Zantuk. And he relieves pretty easily and finds Bitterscombe in the back pocket.
Bowden, centre on his right foot, compensates, but the kick not good up towards the wing. Richardson overran it, waiting behind Jakovic. He's been steadfast tonight. Goes in short, well played. Miranda back on the ground, chips it outside the 50. This is Chambers. Chambers runs to the 50, lines up and sprays it well wide, out of bounds on the full.
There have been 2 negatives on the game, Dennis. I'd hate to be a forward player in this match because there hasn't been too many lace-up delivery to plays into the forward line.
Campbell barking the instructions, waiting to come on. Dying minutes of the first half. Cameron out of the back pocket finds Hall at left half back, plays on immediately. Lax marking at the mark by Judd. Ball comes away, kicks it up towards the wing. Knights in hard, Wooden slides in, tries to give it back towards Braun. Braun knocks it in the opposite direction that the Eagles are going. And Roden comes across and knocks the ball away from him and out of bounds. So a boundary throw in. Just the attacking side of left centre wing for the Tigers.
Boys, Tawny just had his knee assessed by the doctor for stability, his medial ligament and his anterior cruciate.
So Tiffany Cherry down on the boundary line. Roden from the stoppage High up and under kick towards half forward. Campbell judged it very well and took a good mark with the flight of the ball.
He's open forward line, I'll get it in there quick.
He wants to do exactly that. The chip pass. Matera read that beautifully. Got hands to it to spoil the Richardson lead. Richardson butted up. Gave it to Cracker. Great vision. Cracker puts it out to Bitterscombe. From 30 metres out, has the time to steady. And again misses to the left-hand side. So both sides creating scoring opportunities in the second term. But Ben Elliott, as we mentioned, we've had 40 inside 50s for the game. Only 3 goals scored.
Be negative, Ben. Come on, be negative.
I'll tell you what was fantastic in that bit of play was the vision of Andy Cracker to find Bitterscombe.
The supreme optimist here, beauty.
So West Coast have it on the outer side. McIntosh back with the flight of the ball was met solidly by Bowden. He got to his feet quickly. The handball to Fletcher. In space. Little chip kick was clever and finds Gardner right on centre wing at Subiaco.
Untidy game. Gardner outside the 50, puts it inside the 50. Hansen was up, got fingertips to it. Now an opportunity, cruising past Sampi.
Well, how quickly it can turn around. That's what Ashley Sampi can bring to this footy team. Well, Sampi not with a point of the mark that kicked that goal, I'm sure. Got at the foot of this kick that came in from Michael Gardner. Good play from Hansen just to make it contest. And that's Sampi in his first game for the West Coast Eagles, wearing number 28 that Chris Lewis made famous for this team.
Bit of class there from Ashley Sampi. So it's West Coast 3-6-24, Richmond 1-5-11 as Matthew Richardson comes to the bench. Just 4 possessions for Richo in this first half. The centre square infringement, it's going the way of the Tigers.
Glenn Jakovic's been very good on Richardson.
And it's Brad Ottens out of the centre, thumps it long inside 50. Pettifer comes on the long lead, but was never really going to get to the contest, and Glenn Jakovic stood tall and took a pretty solid mark.
Here's Jack back.
So Jakovic comes towards Gardner, had the size advantage over Cameron, who brought it to ground. Fiora was taken too high in the tackle by Fletcher, and he'll take the free kick.
The poor thing about that rotation policy, your man comes into the game, Jakovic will probably dominate, I'd say, from now on.
Boys, Leon Cameron in a little bit of trouble just coming off.
Fiora to Hall, Hall to Ottens, just forward of the centre circle. Towards half forward, Adam Houlihan presents himself 65 metres out from goal. Tigers need a goal, they trail by 13 points. Nearing half-time, we've gone 23 minutes in the second term at Subiaco. Houlihan, not 15, you heard the umpire call it, that put Wayne Campbell in a lot of trouble. Miranda had him wrapped up, Ben Allen.
It's going to be interesting, this rule, because if a lot of players are flooded back into the 50-metre area and you're about 60, 65 out, quite often the short chip is on. Clearly not 15, it was a good decision. Houlihan to Campbell, but it's going to be interesting with players flooding back into the area because there's not too many spots where players can run in for an open ball.
And if you are wondering about the logic at home, that is exactly the logic, isn't it, Ben? It's to try and counteract flooding tactics and make it a little bit more difficult. Try and open up the play a little bit more. Ottens, the tap. The Tigers a chance through Rhodey. Kick towards the forward pocket. Cracker. Some brilliance from Andrew Cracker from the forward pocket. Goes for goal and kicks a beauty.
Fantastic play from Andy Cracker. I was actually speaking to Greg Hutchinson before the game and asked him how Andy was going. He said he hadn't actually received any easy ball in the lead-up games in this competition, and that is just brilliant. He's turned Phil Reid inside out. Not only that, he had the audacity just to steady, and fantastic kicking action that this boy's got. Brilliant goal.
Sampi at one end, Cracker at the other. Exciting stuff approaching half-time. 3-6-2-5. Wayne Campbell having plenty to say, I think directed at Mark Miranda. As play restarts. Backhanded down by Tucky, who gets the loose ball, comes back to him again. For a pundit, twisting, turning, got it away. Casey Green immediately grabbed. Bowden on his knees did well. Fiora couldn't find it.
And Dennis, I guess the West Coast Eagles have decided that they're going to win this game with smalls rather than talls. A very tall bench as we speak with Gardner, Wilson, Jakovic and Cox currently on the pine.
Jakovic has been terrific. 11 possessions, 3 marks against quality opposition. Tippendale back on the ground.
He says he's set himself for this game against Richardson, Dennis.
Yep. People said he wouldn't be quick enough. Well, so far he's done very well. Knights out of the centre circle towards half forward. Roden in front. Got to keep your feet. It was knocked away by Fletcher. Green Allows Fletcher to run onto the loose ball. Sweeping hand pass. Chambers away. Interesting spiral inside the 50. Going back to mark is taken by Hall. Rebound opportunity on for the Tigers. Gaspar's got it 2-on-1 towards the outer side. Kellaway. Braun is closing. Oh, well done, Kellaway. Slapped it wider still. Bitterscombe around the outer side towards the wing. Hangs a long time in the air. Judd did well. Interfered with Ottens enough. Fell behind. Reed towards half forward. Chance for Chambers. Runs to 50. Kicks towards full forward. And I think he's got the goal, has he? All clear goal. Callum Chambers.
Sometimes all it takes, Dennis, is for a quick kick to happen into the forward line. That's all you ask as a forward, to have a one-on-one contest. This was just Phil Reid getting yards into the West Coast Eagles forward line. It just so happens that Callum Chambers was on his own. That's a good finish. I tell you, this boy needs to take a step this year. He's been around for a number of years. He's a fantastic athlete. He can cement his place in this team.
So Leon Cameron sits on the bench as West Coast extend their lead back to 13 points. And gentlemen, we've seen the tempo and quality of this game just lift in the last 4 or 5 minutes. Both sides creating opportunities out of nothing as Ottens goes up, wins a tap down to Clinton King. Bounces the kick towards 50. Carroll goes back for West Coast. Kept his eye on the football. Eventually one possession. The kick towards the middle was towards Chris Newman, but he's beaten for time by the half-time siren. And at half-time we see West Coast 4-6-30 leading the Tigers 2-5-17 by 13 points.
And the crowd warming to the West Coast Eagles. I think they've liked what they've seen, Ben.
Yeah, scrappy game, Dennis, but quite often when you do have such a game, it does open up the longer the game goes, and that certainly happened. There was a couple of outstanding goals towards the end of that second quarter, Sampy and Cracker, and a great finish by Chambers just the end of that quarter. But a good game, we got one on our hands.
Interesting, taking a look at the numbers, a couple of the old stages at the top of the list for the West Coast Eagles. Feels like deja vu. Peter Matera, 13 possessions to half-time. Glenn Jakovic has got 11. For the Tigers, nothing new. Joel Bowden has got 13. There's John Worsfold, who made his debut against Carlton a long time ago in the late 80s. Back from Carlton and enjoying things so far at Subi. At half-time in the Wizard Cup, Dennis Committee alongside Ben Allen. And Ben, there is this air amongst the Eagles supporters, the faithful tonight, that maybe they've turned the corner, or at least they've got the flicker on.
Absolutely, I've been very impressed with Weirpunda. He's spent a bit of time in the midfield, but Michael Gardner really set that lead up for them at half-time. He was outstanding in the forward half.
Supporters are great, aren't they? Because suddenly there's something to cling to, but it's a long road back for the West Coast Eagles, we've got to say, as we take a look at some of the action. Weirpunda has been terrific in the midfield, searching run here, and moments later, Gardner sets it up. Weirpunda off Gardner, dribbles it through for a goal, and goals have been scarce in this one.
Yes, absolutely. That was a nice kick from Knights, and Adam Houlihan, a new player for Richmond, and Danny Frawley coming from Geelong finishes off nicely. He's a nippy half forward along with Paul Hudson, was an interesting acquisition.
And speaking of nippy half forwards, watch this. Ashley Sampy onto the loose ball, kicks from 25 metres out, and he certainly enjoyed that. Great talent.
And this one, another Aboriginal boy, Dennis, Andy Cracker, just turned Phil Reid inside out, and another, I mean, that is an absolutely class finish.
And just before half-time, this goal gave the Eagles some breathing space. Callum Chambers runs to 50, a player, as you said, Ben, who needs to consolidate, but that's a good running goal. He's got to do more of that as we take a look at the numbers. Nothing much separating these two sides. In fact, Richmond with more possession.
Absolutely, but I think the quality of the Richmond disposal hasn't been fantastic. I think one thing perhaps we haven't commented on that much is the negative pressure from West Coast. So when Richmond do get the footy, West Coast have been pretty good at putting body pressure on them.
And speaking of the Tigers, what about Richo?
He's been well held by Jakovic.
Well, he was down last week, just the one goal, and suddenly looked a little frustrated in that one late.
Yep. Look, I think he has a tendency to get frustrated when he has a one-on-one opponent, but Jakovic, I've been absolutely impressed with his versatility, and he's just the way he can get across the ground. It looks like he's dropped a few kilos, and he's got his agility back.
Well, you made the point that Jakovic had an interrupted pre-season last year, coming off a full pre-season this time around. Suddenly looks a different man.
Absolutely, and McIntosh as well in his, I guess, first game of this season proper, aligned with Brad Ottens. He's been pretty good defensively as well.
Inside the rooms then, the West Coast Eagles, what's the most noticeable thing do you think about the Eagles this year compared to this time last year, for example?
Well, I just think that they're just playing their natural game, and John Worsfold said that in the press this week. That's what he likes them to do. Take the shackles off, don't worry about the tags, pretend that you're playing under 15 footy, he said in this morning's paper, and when there's not that pressure on you, you tend to play a lot better game.
More of half-time coming up in just a moment. At the major break, it's the West Coast Eagles by 13 points.
Half-time here at Subiaco. It's round 2 of the Wizard Cup, and it's the Eagles by 13 points after they led at quarter-time by 6 points. We see the youngsters out running about, having a bit of fun on Subiaco Oval. An experience I'm sure they will never forget. And joining us now is a man who has a 2001 that he'd probably rather forget. It's David Subiaco from the West Coast Eagles. Go, David.
Jason, how you going?
Very well, thanks, mate. How are you seeing the first half? The Eagles up by 13 points.
Yeah, the boys are a little bit sleight of hand at the moment. We just can't get our hands on the ball probably as clean as we'd like, but the boys have been showing a lot of endeavour, which has carried on from last week, and hopefully we can get back a little bit of form that we had last week and start kicking some more goals.
There's a good vibe and spirit around Subiaco tonight. The crowd are really getting involved. It must be great for the club to get momentum early on.
Great to see so many supporters out here tonight. It's it's a great night in Perth. It's 30 degrees tonight, so it's ideal for footy, and it's great to see the people and the supporters coming along again.
I mentioned your 2001 just moments ago. A horrible year for you. You've come across from St Kilda to West Coast, and you've done your knee within the first 10 minutes of round 1.
16 minutes, mate.
16 minutes, was it? So a very tough year, I'm tipping.
Yeah, look, that was very hard. It was hard emotionally getting over the injury, number one, and then to actually get myself back to the thinking that I can actually play football again. It's a long road, but it's a road that a lot of people go through nowadays, and there's a lot of guys out there playing with knee reconstructions. Phil Reed's one of them out there tonight, and he's doing a fantastic job. So I'm just looking forward to the next couple of weeks, hopefully, and getting back out in the oval.
You're 27 years of age now. You've had a year off with no football, basically. Just a time to reflect on your career and what football holds for David Subiaco.
I've done all the reflecting I need. It's time to push on with my career. Obviously, I've only just turned 27, so I feel pretty young. I've had the last 2 or 3 years have been pretty tough for me, probably emotionally more than anything. Physically, I feel great. I've played 15 games in nearly 2.5 years, so it's been a really good time to let my body just get over all those aches and pains, and other than the building of the knee, the reconstruction knee, and just getting it back to where I can play good footy again.
Now, we spoke of the excitement that's been generated in the pre-season here. Talk us through the transition from Ken Judge to John Worsfold, because it has created plenty of hype over here. The dual premiership captain returning to lead the club.
Yeah, look, Bush has been fantastic since he walked through the door, and taking nothing away from Ken. It's a great vibe down the club. He's brought a lot of enthusiasm. He's letting the guys play a lot of their natural game, and one of our key mottos this year is to enjoy ourselves, and if we're enjoying ourselves out on the field, then hopefully we can have a few wins along the way.
And I think we're seeing that tonight. There's a few younger players that are really stepping up. It's been a great blend of old and new, hasn't it?
Yeah.
The likes of Matera and Jakovic have...
Football on a Friday night from Subiaco Oval in Perth, Western Australia. Half-time, West Coast on top by 13 points, and maybe, just maybe, the Eagles are talking amongst themselves in hushed tones about the semi-finals of the Wizard Cup. Still a way to go, but they've been quite impressive last week certainly, and tonight it's been a hard battle, but they're up 4-6 to 2-5. The margin 13 points after they led by 6 at quarter time. For the Eagles, the goals have come from Chambers, Sampi, Burapunda and Tucky. He got the first of them. And for the Tigers, Houlihan and Cracker. Cracker a very good sharp angle goal from the right full forward pocket approaching half time. Danny Frawley beginning his 3rd season with the Tigers. Headed for the coach's box, which is quite a climb. Let's go down to the boundary and Tiffany Chill.
Yes, thanks, Dennis. Well, a couple of injury worries. Leon Cameron had his calf strap just before half-time, and as I said before, Tawny had his knee checked, but it doesn't seem to be too bad. And I did just hear that coaching assistant Darren Crocker, there might be another addition to the family. His wife is expecting their 3rd child, so one of the trainers is manning the phone at the moment, Mark.
Well, no births at the West Coast Eagles, but it is the birth of a new era, of course, with John Worsfold in charge as coach. The best news, and West Coast Eagles supporters will appreciate this, no injuries, and that's something they haven't been able to get through the pre-season for the past couple of seasons without. So from West Coast half-time huddle, that's the best news they could ever get. Dennis?
And Jason, you've been keeping an eye on the numbers. What can you tell us so far in the game?
Well, just looking at the overall possessions, Richmond have had 13 more possessions, Ben, but when you break them down, West Coast have had far more contested possessions. Richmond have pumped theirs up by uncontested possessions by getting the ball in the defensive and just finding space, whereas West Coast, they're winning the contests.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty tough game. I expect Richmond to come out firing. Danny Foley wouldn't want this side, who finished 4th last year, a great season, to drop 2 pre-season matches in a row. Interesting though, no goals to either Matthew Richardson or Brad Alton. Expect them to lift in the second half.
Just 10 possessions and 3 marks between the Twin Towers for the Tigers.
4-6-2-5 set to go in the second half from Subiaco Oval. Crowd is built up now. It's a healthy number. Very good voice. Eagles going right to left in this term as they did in the first. The breeze almost directly across the ground. That wasn't Ben, that was actually the umpire as King kicks it down towards half forward. Roden back to goal. Pulls it back inside the 50. This will be an awkward one down there. Houlihan, quick hands away. Bowden across the body. High ball. It's twisting back. I think it's a goal. It's a goodie. Joel Bowden.
Brilliant hands from Houlihan. It was a terrible kick in from Roden. Went forward, but just the ability of Houlihan to get that ball into Joel Bowden's hands. And Bowden is a left footer, so he was on his natural foot. Here's Roden. Just got it forward. That's okay. He's in his first match. Houlihan in front. Got it out very quickly. And Bowden on his left side. I don't think he connected with that one too quickly. Doesn't matter. It's in the paper tomorrow morning.
So the dream start for the Tigers, a goal in the opening 30 seconds of the third term as Glenn Jakovic comes to the bench for West Coast.
Just not a match up there for him. They've gone with a smaller forward line of Richmond.
So McIntosh has gone to Richardson to start this third term. Otten's got the tap down to Bowden. The Tigers into attack again. Roden at half forward. Just tapped it into the path of Andrew Callaway. A heavy clash there between Roden and Trent Carroll. The Tigers still have it. The ball goes towards the goal square. Just going back and using his body well was Wooden. Just nudged his opponent under the football and took a good safe defensive mark. Goes short and finds Cox at defensive 25. Hand off to Philip Reid. Has a bounce. Wants to take it to the members' side of the ground. He's got a man in space. It's Jones and the kick was a beauty. Jones onto his left boot. Tough kick to mark. Didn't spin well off the foot. Over the head of Gardner. Back towards the 50. Peter Matera trying to create something for West Coast. Paddles the ball in front of him. Free kick off the ball. It's for pushing the back. And it's going the way of Brad Ottens. So the Tigers get out of trouble there just as Peter Matera was lurking. And Brad Ottens goes short and finds the skipper Wayne Campbell just outside defensive 50. The handball wasn't great. It was picked up by Daniel Kerr, but can he pick it up? From 35 metres, it's an open goal square. He bends it back, but misses to the left-hand side. So Daniel Kerr just picking Wayne Campbell's pocket there, but couldn't convert. It's West Coast 4-7-31, Richmond 3-5-23.
He did all the hard work, didn't he? Outstanding debut season for Daniel Kerr last year, but I just thought he should have steadied, maybe taken 2 or 3 more steps, and I reckon he could have converted.
And boys, not since I think Mike Richardson played footy have we seen a player with sweatbands on his wrists. Exactly, that's what Troy Wilson is wearing, 2 black sweatbands on his wrists tonight.
Newman in the back pocket around the outer side. Finds the boundary line. It will be tossed in. 4-7-3-5, early going third term from Tucky. He kicked the opening goal in this one, starting the third term on the bench. Cox and Ottens ignoring the umpire. Cox hooks it down behind. Campbell tried to trap it. Spills across to Zilla. Zilla across the body. Very clever. Newman got the hand pass away. Ottens tries to feed it back. King following up. Opportunity again for Newman. Taken down by Reid. Strong tackle. Holding the ball. Good running though by young Newman. There's Reid inside the centre square. Kicks towards half-forward. Callaway uncontested. Plays on immediately. In trouble. Bowden throws it on the boot. It comes out towards the wing. Kerr leads in the race. Carroll coming across on the assist. They've got the extra man, not required. Kerr, too tall for Chambers. Miranda slides in. Campbell did well. Roden strongly tackled, stood up in the tackle. Now an opportunity across half-back for Green. Took a long time. Didn't see the man coming. Hudson collected him. Roden sent away. Runs inside the 50. Well, it hangs in the air a long time, but it gets to Richardson. 20 metres out. And that hard work of it comes back to Cracker, who kicks his second.
They got there in the end, but it all came from that bump of Paul Hudson. Fantastic commitment to him. The ball spilled free. I think it was Roden that picked the ball up on the half-forward line. Eventually fell in the hands of Cracker, but wasn't great vision from Roden. Only in his first game, and just was able to spot Richardson. Cracker ran on forward. Easy goal in the end. So the Tigers fighting back. Just 2 points the margin now. West Coast 4-7, Richmond 4-5. Approaching the 5-minute mark in this third term. Tempo just lifting here at Subiaco. The Tigers with the momentum early in the third quarter. Otten's in the ruck, got the tap. But West Coast get the centre clearance. It goes inside their 50. Gardner, he leads Hall in the race for the football, but his handball was a bit fierce for Kerr. He goes back and wins it himself. Well played, Daniel Kerr. Loops a handball over the top to Miranda. Bowden closes on him, has to get rid of it quickly. Cousins decided not to commit his body to the ball there, just hung back. In goes Hall. Cousins just reading that a couple of his teammates there were going to pile in, and there might have been a chance for him to gather a football on 50. You've always got a chance when the ball's just moving. Doesn't have to move too much on that half-forward line, maybe a couple of metres handball, but when you're doing that, the defence of the Oppo is moving, just dead on the 50-metre line at the minute. And there is Cousins, reads it beautifully off the ruck contest, releases Kerr from 25, and he has kicked it behind. Wasted opportunity there for Daniel Kerr. It was a great piece of ruck work. Cousins released him into space. He had some time, but just pushed the kick across the face of goal for a behind. So West Coast extend their lead to 3 points. We've gone 6 minutes in this third term at Subiaco.
We on camera to bring it in. Began his career back in 1990 with the Western Bulldogs under Terry Wheeler. Grew up barracking for Carlton. Here's Newman. Plays on, still inside the 50. Bowden took a long time. Matera snuck up on him. Bowden gets the hand pass away. Campbell, low, it skids to Tawney. Tawney forward at half back, kicks it down towards half forward. Tracker close to the boundary line, out on the full. Fletcher will get the free kick. Chad Fletcher thought about the middle, now decides against it. 4-8 plays 4-5. The Tigers working back into this one. Munro on the lead on the wing. Wasting no time, kicks it down towards half forward, storming up is Wilson. Awkward bounce, takes Campbell on, bounces up Campbell, puts it around the corner. Chambers slips over, gets to his feet, puts a goal, his second.
Great finish from Chambers, but really that goal came from one reason, that's Troy Wilson, because when that ball is in his vicinity, the one thing he does is he attacks the ball very, very fiercely. He doesn't sidestep, just brings other players into the ground. I probably would have thought that Wayne Campbell, the skipper, probably could have made a better attempt at a tackle, at least drag the ball in, not allowing Wilson to release it. Technique wasn't great there, it wasn't commitment, it was simply technique.
So Troy Wilson's first possession of the evening creates a goal for his side, and they sneak out to a 9-point lead. 7 3/4 minutes gone in the third term. 5-8 to 4-5. And an entertaining contest developing here at Subiaco. Another centre square infringement. This time it's going the way of West Coast, and Dean Cox will take the resultant free kick. Thumps the ball long, inside 50. Gardner at the front of the contest, just nudged out. Good use of the body there from Ray Hall. He takes the mark. Wants to move it quickly. Goes by hand to Zilla. Zilla gives it over to Gaspar. He brings it out towards the members' wing. And crunch. Earning that one was Andrew Callaway. Some pressure laid there by Trent Carroll. You see kicks there in the top left-hand corner of your screen, even on 102 apiece. And Craig Bitterscombe will have the next kick of the game. He's in centre wing. Goes short and finds Campbell. Held up by Reid as Cameron comes off, replaced by Aaron Fiora. It's West Coast by 9 points. We've gone 8.5 minutes in this third term. Campbell spots a man in space.
Goes backwards to move forward. It's Tawney. A high ball. They'll contest right on 50 for the Tigers. Working hard there at ground level for Richmond is Ottens. The West Coast defenders happy to wrap him up. We'll have a ball up just inside the 50.
I think Wooden showed some good signs in his match today. He one-on-one with Paul Hudson then, and Hudson very, very strong overhead. There's young Ashley Sampi on the boundary line, but Wooden just showed that he can be a player at this level.
Campbell off and Knights on for Richmond. Matera has a spell, replaced by Brent Tucky for West Coast.
Chambers had it smothered. Matera lost it. Back into the congestion. Wayne Campbell. 9 possessions, or is it 13? Well, neither. It's 10. Depends where you look. Ottens knocks it down. Houlihan. Good kick, it's a goal. The second.
Well, a couple of opportunist goals in this match already, but that was brilliant from Houlihan, and it came from a set play again. Now, there's a couple of players in the Richmond side that you can't afford to get goal side of, and one is Houlihan. Benny Cousin wasn't his direct opponent. He's just lost his opponent in that little pack. He only needs a little bit of space and he can convert.
So the Tigers only kicked 2 goals for the entire first half. They've already kicked 3 in this third quarter. And they've reduced the margin to 3 points. 10.5 minutes gone in this third term.
Houlihan one out with Josh Wooden on the full forward line at the minute.
So very good contest developing here. 3 points the margin. And play just opening up at both ends of the ground. Ottens in the ruck against Cox. Wilpunda slaps it forward for his side. Running onto it was Miranda. Got the hands free. Found Cousins with a handball. On his left boot goes towards Wilson. He takes the mark 48 metres out. Fairly tight angle. Had the choice to move it on quickly.
Yeah, Gardner was dropping back and it would have been a relatively easy mark. All he had to do was pop it over the head of, I think it was Ray Hall, Gardner's respective opponent. But look, goals are hard to come by when you're full forward, and distance certainly isn't a problem for Troy Wilson. He just can do an easy, relatively easy kick, just at the right-hand goalpost. It should drift back.
So kicked 5 straight last week from 5 kicks from 55 metres out. That tumble punt goes towards the top of the goal square. And after the big build-up, the big letdown, the mark's taken by Knights in the defensive goal square.
Like a one-day game, he got reverse swings.
Knights chips it over the top. He's got 2 men on. One of them's Ottens and he takes the mark. Defensive 35 for the Tigers. They trail by 3 points, approaching the 12-minute mark in this third term. Ty Zantuck, ungainly looking right foot. Pitches just inside the boundary line, and McIntosh and Richardson see it over for a throw-in. Smack bang on the wing.
Every time Campbell comes off, he's just getting some work done on his hamstrings. The conditions are not helping at the moment.
So the home side by 3 points as the ball slapped back towards the boundary line for another throw-in. But Ben, just play just opening up in this third term. We've seen a few very creative goals at both ends of the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that'll continue to happen. I mean, the boys are, I guess, warming to their task, and I reckon the game is about to explode open.
So Otten's got the tap, but a swarm of players on top of the football. It's going nowhere. Stephen Zilla, the little pit bull there.
But Richmond have gone with a smaller forward. I know Richardson is down there, but Andy Cracker, Paul Hudson and Houlihan are the 3 other players, one out with their respective opponents in the Richmond forward half.
Umpire throws the ball up as he does all around the ground in this Wizard Cup competition. Tippendale had it and lost it. Chris Judd lost his footing. He's pounced on by a couple of Tigers, including Andrew Callaway. A scrappy piece of play developing here, and the umpire will move in to break it up yet again. 3 points the margin. Gone 13 minutes in the third term. Ottens will go in the ruck again against Cox. They link arms, hug each other. Comes to Knights. He tries to find some space, gets taken high by Carroll, and he'll get the free kick. Tigers a chance to break from the congestion on centre wing. Tippendale with that raking left boot to an open forward line. Richardson juggles it and takes the mark.
Gee, that's a brilliant kick from Tippendale. I think there's a clear directive of 3 players if they're free from Richmond. One is Tivendale, the other is Cameron, and the other one is Bowden. If they're free, just dish it off to them and they can use their penetrating, I think they're all their footers, but that's a great kick. Richardson just had to hold McIntosh out, and finally he's had an opportunity to throw himself at the footy.
His third mark for the evening, his 6th possession coming up. And a chance to put the Tigers in front. Matthew Richardson from 45 metres out. 45-degree angle. Kick on its way. We're right behind it, and it is straight through the middle. The Tigers in front at Subi.
There was good team football then from the Tigers. There was a couple of ball-ups right on the wing there, and the ball didn't go anywhere. Finally, Matthew Knight received a free for a high tackle. Just dished it off to Tivendale. He's kicked it 60 metres off 2 steps, 1 out into the forward line for Richardson, and that's all the forward can ask. Brilliant play from Tivendale.
5-8, 6-5. Matthew Richardson, his first goal, twice in the regular season. He's kicked 6 against the Eagles as recently as round 5 last season. Confidence player, who knows? That could lead to several more. Gardner knocks it down, stolen by King. Here he comes again. Richo almost spilt it. Socket off the ground by Carroll. Richardson with courage. Took it high. He's going to get a free kick, is he?
Yep.
Okay. Well, he showed the courage, certainly. I'm not sure the opposing player could have expected him to do that. 65 metres out. Centering kick. Gardner goes back with a flutter, but that's better. Wants to go. Play on. Yes, that's the call. Hand passes towards the boundary and Wooden. Cracker applying pressure. Wooden lunging. Picked up by Gardner. No space there to operate in. Takes on the little fellows. And Ottens. Like a pinball machine in there. They're bouncing around. We love that. He must be at Subi.
Good defensive play from the Tigers. They keep the ball in their forward half.
Tossed in meantime. Ottens cleverly. Could have been a free kick to Kellaway. Nothing doing. Down goes Ottens. Judd slides in. Cracker's in there as well. And the umpire decides to call for it.
Boys, it's probably only a pre-season game, but 17,500 people are here, and they're acting as if there are 4 premiership points up for grabs.
That's not bad, is it? 17,500. 6-5, 5-8. So the Tigers, after they trailed by 13 points at half-time, have really worked back into this. Ottens knocks it down in the opposite direction. McIntosh missed it. Squeezed out of there. I think it was Zilla. Touched off the boot in any case. It was Zilla.
He's an interesting player, isn't he, Zilla? He played 23 games last year and mostly a stop, but 17 of those matches he started on the bench, which is unbelievable.
And he played with coach Danny Frawley in 1995 at St Kilda. Got brought across to join the Tigers at the start of 2001. Some sloppy disposal gives Richmond a chance through Andrew Kellaway. Goes inside 50, no free kick there. Houlihan's got it, 48 metres out from goal. Handball off to Richardson. Not sure where to go. Goes back to Kellaway from 55. Chips to the red zone in front of goal. Up goes Big Ottens. Brought it to ground. Numbers at ground level. Hudson. Kicks partly smothered. And the Eagles got it out of there through Gardner. Dumps it back towards the wing. But the numbers are all Richmond. Bowden onto his left boot. Spears it into the pocket. Looking for and finding Andrew Cracker.
Nice kick. I think Andy should have a shot.
Campbell coming back on.
He's 40 metres out from goal.
He's capable of kicking that ball. His skills are amazing. But isn't it interesting, this rotation policy that's sort of entered into the AFL the last couple of weeks? We see Glenn Jakovic sitting on the bench, and immediately Matthew Richardson has had a lot better career. He's coming back right back into this match.
So Andrew Cracker, his 4th possession for the evening. You see his angle. Kick on its way. Just swinging from right to left. It's a beautiful kick. It's a goal. His 3rd.
And the thing that will open this game up, and they're the brother and sister, I think, of young Andy Cracker. But the thing that will open this game up is pure skill, and a couple of boys have got their hands on the ball who are very skilled. We see Bowden here. Doesn't need much time to spot Andy Cracker in the pocket, but prior to that it was Tivendale. Those boys get their hands on the footy, they can blow this game apart.
Oh, that kick had eyes. A beautiful kick from Cracker. Takes a player of great confidence to start it outside the line and work it back like a golfer, trusting his swing, and Cracker did that. 7-6-5-8, play restarts, knocked down by Ottens, charging in his lead, meeting him halfway is Zilla. The umpire wants it again.
Crowd at Subi is finding their voice, Dennis. I think they sense Richmond are making their move.
Absolutely, the Tigers have been very impressive in this term. More direct, they've got some focal points up front and they're using them. Ottens is getting better as well, wins it down to Houlihan, kicks down towards the 50, Howell at bounce, Richardson was pushed in the back, can't buy it free, a couple of Tigers collide, Cracker cleverly to Richardson, doesn't need a free, kicks another one, how about that, his second.
Well, again, something special on the half-forward line from Andy Cracker. He has a clarity about him when he's amongst a pack that I haven't seen too often in younger players. You've got to look after the Clontarf boys, Dennis, but he should have copped a free kick there. But just his ability to hand that ball out to Matthew Richardson was unbelievable. He has vision that not too many players at this level have. Just a brilliant team goal from Cracker. Cracker was involved in that goal, obviously.
So 6 goals to 1 in favour of the Tigers in this third term. And they've opened up a 16-point lead, approaching the 20-minute mark. West Coast need a goal. The Tigers on a bit of a roll here at Subiaco. Back in the middle of the ground. Ottens wins the tap. Things starting to go Richmond's way. It's Campbell. High kick towards half forward. Numbers there for both sides. Andrew Cracker grabs it at ground level, but he's wrapped up by Rowan Jones. No escape on this occasion. We'll have a bounce.
They're starting to get the ball out of the middle to Richmond, and the clearances just haven't been dribbling across the centre-half forward position. They've been absolute clearances into a dangerous position in Richmond's forward half.
Ruck clearances this evening, 25-15 in favour of the Tigers, supporting Ben Ellen's argument there. The ball inside 50 again. Houlihan runs onto an open goal from 25 and kicks another one.
Well, they've kicked the last 5, the Tigers, and that's just another example of a West Coast Eagle defender not being on the goal side of his respective opponent. Houlihan's just running into open territory. You can't give a player of any skill level any space, let alone someone of Adam Houlihan's skill. He's quick, he can read the play, and you just got to get in between the goals and Adam Houlihan so he can't run onto an easy pill.
Nice return. Adam Houlihan with 3, and as Ben said a few minutes ago, this game likely to bust wide open. It's done that. Michael Collicker was missed in the back half for the Eagles, generally their most reliable defender, and at the moment the defence is under siege. Vaughan hurriedly kicks it out wide, leading up is Wirrapunda, close to the boundary line, controls it brilliantly, goes to Matera, and Matera off a step pops it very wide into the crowd.
They are rotating their forward line around. The Houlihan's now come up to the half-forward line. Paul Hudson's won out with Josh Wooden at full forward.
Matthew Knights, forward of left half-back. Plenty of time, and again the call can be played on. Houlihan comes on a lead. Knights ignores that, goes for distance towards half forward. Up in front, Richardson knocked away by McIntosh. Taken by Zilla, nicely done, gets the kick off. Moving with his space, this is Gaspar up the ground. He's about 55 out, runs inside the 50. What can he muster? It's trying to come back. Didn't miss by much, you're behind.
And just looking at Troy Wilson, he would be 80 metres away from Darren Gaspar. He's actually going to receive this ball. He's stuck out the backside. Gaspar doesn't know where he is.
So Richmond by 23 points. We've gone 22 and a half minutes in this third term. Troy Wilson kicks up towards the wing. Numbers there for the Tigers at ground level, but West Coast win the football through Rowan Jones. Handball over the top. Chance here for Haynes. Onto his right boot towards half forward. Wirrapunda had 2 to beat. In the end, Tawney decides to keep it in. The tackle came from Wirrapunda, and the ball goes over for a throw in. Richmond have made their move in this third term. They kicked 7 goals to 1. And West Coast need a goal here before three-quarter time just to steady themselves. Zilla from the ruck contest. Scrubby kick out wide, but it found Andrew Callaway in space. Little handball to Roden, who shows some pace. Runs away from Haynes, runs into his own man in Zilla, but keeps his poise and actually got the kick away. But he was off balance and went out of bounds on the full. West Coast got a chance as we see Matthew Knights bleeding profusely from the cut. Looks like just on the top of his head there. Umpire will spot that shortly, no doubt. If not, I'm sure a West Coast player might just point it out to him.
Well, he needs to run it straight away. Everyone knows really the rule. There's no point really.
And spotted now by the umpire, and off he comes, Ben.
Yep.
So, reminiscent of round 2 last year, when Matthew Knights came from the field against the Bulldogs in a similar state. Let's have a look at the replay as he comes from the ground to be replaced by Clinton King. An accidental elbow there, just across the top of the scalp.
Yeah, it was good courage from him though. He was going back with the flight of the footy, didn't know what was behind him, and as you'd expect of someone of Matthew Knights' calibre, just eyes always on the ball.
It's calling the medical staff, I think, to take him straight to the rooms to get stitches, clean him up and have him back out for the start of the last quarter. Have gone 24.25 minutes in the third term, so not much time left. They'll take him inside and clean him up. Meantime, Braun's got the free kick, kicks towards 50. Advances through to the back of the contest. Going from 30 metres out, kicked into the approaching man. It was Ray Hall. And what seemed like a certain goal goes begging Ben Allen, and didn't West Coast need that one?
And Michael Garner would be thinking to himself, why on earth, when Ray Hall was in the mid-air in flight, didn't I just run around him and pop into an easy goal?
So throw in as Matthew Knights goes into the rooms to get tidied up. Reid, quick handball to Tucky, flying snap at goal, and another opportunity goes begging. Through for one behind to Brent Tucky. Free kick. It is after the play for too high, so the ball will be brought out to the back edge of the centre square. We think it might be against Brent Tucky. Ty Zantuck just remonstrating with him here. So we'll check the scores. West Coast 5-9-39. The Tigers are 9-7-61. It's 22 points the margin. We've gone 25 minutes. Here's Dennis Cometti.
This is more like the Tigers of last season. Suddenly the passion has returned. King lays it off. Tivendale, always dangerous. Thinks about the hand pass, decides to run down towards half-forward. Probing kick inside the 50, wide of the mark goal. Intended for Ottens, but pitched about 5 metres in front of him. And that was enough to be out of bounds on the foot. Tivendale, a wise smile. Matura telling him about the kick. Meantime, on the outer side, Gardner's got it. He's at right half-back, told to play on. Kicks it up towards the wing. Coming up is Haynes, dropped the mark. It ricochets towards Zilla, who knocks it across the boundary line. 61-39, approaching three-quarter time at Subi. And what a transformation.
Zilla and Ben Cousins contest, both have 8 possessions.
Score the fight to Zilla. Tossed in. Knocked down by Gardner, taken by Braun across the body. High ball, will the breeze pull it back? Not enough. Out of bounds on the full this time. The free kick will go the Tigers' way.
On paper, it's like the Woods O'Malley contest. Dennis, we know who won that one.
Yes. That was out for Tiger. I like the Tigers from here. Cameron, left half back. The confidence just growing amongst this team at the moment. Down by 13 points at half-time. And they've accelerated in the third quarter. Waiting forward to the pack, Campbell, hurriedly. It bounces down towards the attacking 50. Cousins, a chance for his 8th possession. Right there is Zilla, but Cousins, wide wrapped, he comes away with it, puts it up towards the wing and green. Touches of brilliance from Cousins, but not enough. Zilla has won the battle so far. This is Gardner. Kicks down towards half forward. Wilson on the lead. As Jason said, 27 possessions, the average for Cousins last year. That was up from 25 in the previous season. Braun off the fingertips of Cox. Runs into an open goal and gets it. They needed that one.
Well, I mean, a hard work goal. There wasn't really any or too much creativity about it. So I guess it started from Cousins winning that one-on-one ball with Zilla in the back half. Just Braun running onto a loose ball. The Richmond defender had to bring that ball forward. I tell you, if you've got to make impact, I guess Ray Hall just caught under the footy a little bit. Cox pushing him under it, and an easy finish in the end of Braun. Good for his confidence.
So an all-important goal for West Coast brings them back within 16 points, approaching three-quarter time here at Subiaco. The Tigers have been fantastic in this third term, but West Coast get a steadier. They're second for the quarter, while Richmond have slammed on 7. Gone 28.25 minutes. Umpire puts it down in the middle of the ground. Andrew Callaway goes in the ruck there for the Tigers. The ball's farmed forward towards their 50. Andrew Cracker lurks dangerously. Richardson crashes through onto his left-hand side. High kick towards the top of the goal square. West Coast defenders in the best position. And the ball's fisted towards the line. Well, Roden and Matera take it over and out. But the kick there from Richardson. It's a bit high, wasn't it?
Just a tad high, not allowing Pettifer to run up. The space was definitely in front of Pettifer, but Richo just kicked it up above his head.
It was a good fast break inside the 50, but the kick just took a little bit of time and allowed West Coast to get back in numbers and spoil it. Out of the ruck contest was Andrew Callaway. Right foot snap at goal, misses to the right-hand side and through for one behind.
It's hard to see where West Coast can actually get back into the game. They need someone to kick a couple of goals in a short space of time, and really looking out there, I think the only person that's capable of doing that is Peter Matera. Maybe Peter Matera one out at full forward.
The margin 17 points. Wayne Campbell comes to the bench for the Tigers, replaced by Dragicevic. McIntosh goes straight up the middle, risky kick, but he weighted it well and Horn took the mark right on defensive 50. Vocal crowd here at Subiaco, all 17,500 of them. Ben Cousins runs away towards the outer side, kicks to half forward. Zantuck got to the front of the contest, then won it at ground level cleverly. To Bowden, to Cameron, over the top to Tippendale. This is when the Tigers get focused, but he's brilliantly run down by Sampi. And the Eagles on the counter-attack through Braun. Goes towards half forward, the mark taken by Tucky right on 50. Exciting play from Ashley Sampi. And possibly West Coast with one more scoring opportunity as we hit 30 minutes in this third term. They trail by 17 points. Brent Tucky, 6th possession for the evening. He's kicked 1 goal too, to go with his 3 goals from last week. From 55 metres, kick on its way. It's a low trajectory, doesn't have the legs to get there right to the line. Disciplined Richmond defence. Slap it forward, prevent a score. And at 3/4 time, it's the Tigers with the ascendancy. They trail by 13 points. Now they lead by 17 points, 9-8-62. West Coast are 6-9-45. Let's go down to Tiffany Cherry, boundary side.
Yes, thanks, Jason. And I have here again with me, Carla. Now, Carla, can you believe your brother is just absolutely tearing this game apart?
Yeah. Adam, what was that?
He's tearing this game apart.
Yeah.
Now, Cheryl, you haven't seen your nephew play either. Now, shades reminiscent of Jimmy Cracker?
Yeah, definitely. He's very exciting.
All right, well, enjoy the rest of the game. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Tiffany. Tiffany Terry down on the boundary. It is 3/4 time here at Subiaco. The contest has really taken a couple of steps up in that third term. Richmond by 17 points. Can the Eagles come back?
It was a 7-goal third term by the Tigers. They trailed by 13 points at halftime. They now lead by 17, 9-8-62, 6-6-45. Houlihan, Cracker and Richardson amongst the spoils in that last term. Terrific stuff by the Tigers, who looked lethargic until the major break and then suddenly transformed in that third term. Running hard, long kicks into the forward line. Richardson generally the focal point, and now that man has to turn things around, and this man is a lot happier. Danny Frawley alongside him, Matthew Knights, stitched up, back into the fray. It appeared to be a nasty gash as he came off just before 3/4 time. It was the sort of picture you want hanging over the bar at home. Not so much now. Let's go down to Mark Reddings, who's got Robert Riley.
Yes, thanks, Dennis. Well, Rob, Richmond really made their move in that quarter.
Yeah, they certainly ran much harder than us through the midfield and created a lot more opportunities. So, John's just asked for the midfield to run much harder and try and win back with the football game.
You had their chances in front of goal, though.
Yeah, we haven't used the ball well, particularly in the first half, but certainly Richmond put on the pressure and they put it into their 50 many more times than we did.
A low-scoring game, you still fancy your chances?
Oh, you're only 17 points down. So, as I said, I think we've got the fitness. So, we're at home and hopefully the crowd will get behind us and we can come home.
Good luck, Robert. Dennis?
Jason, what numbers catch your eye?
Well, we look at Joel Bowden. He's had 19 possessions now for the Tigers, been very creative. Andrew Callaway, Campbell and King have had 14 apiece. For West Coast, Matera 15 possessions, Gardner 13, and again, Ben, we look at that trend that we saw at half-time. Richmond with 50 more uncontested possessions. West Coast, when they're getting the football, are under pressure.
Absolutely, and I think the centre breaks was interesting as well. I think when Richmond started to get on top, then they were getting some clearances right into their forward half, and also just a stationary contest from the forward off centre, they were dominant there as well.
Matthew Richardson superb in that third term. He's up to 10 possessions and 3 marks for the game.
So the start of the final term, and the West Coast Eagles find themselves 17 points down. Ottens has been very good. He taps this one down, but directly into the path of Braun. Probing kick inside the 50. Wilson under the ball. Gaspar took it off him. Hit the ground running. Gets the hand pass away. Nice work on the outer side. Cameron, fleet of foot, drives it towards the wing. Not his best effort though, and the mark is taken on the outer side by Carroll.
John Worsfold understanding that Richardson was an influence in that quarter. Glenn Jakovic is back onto him.
Carroll looking for Miranda, found some space. He's at left half forward. Mark Miranda kicks inside the 50, floating kick, worked underneath it was Tucky. Cameron, some indecision between he and Gaspar. Eventually he picks up the footy. Leon Cameron kicks it out towards our broadcast side. Hudson's in front. Green arrives quickly and taps the ball across the line. Boundary thrower.
Another interesting move, Ben, is that Joel Bowden has been picked up by David Weir-Punda. Taking him straight down to the goal square. Taking him out of the action, absolutely. David Weir-Punda now just signalling to the West Coast runner to alert the coaching staff to that situation. Not a situation he's comfortable in. They've opened the 50 right out for those two players. Richmond obviously fancying Bowden in a one-on-one contest. Zilla kicks towards half forward. Richardson flies, timed his jump beautifully. Just plucked it off the top of the pack. He's got that open forward line I just spoke about. High kick towards Bowden, didn't give him much of a chance at all. Took far too long to get to him. Jones tidying up for West Coast to Cox. Around the corner, Jakovic outside defensive 50. Decides to tuck the ball under his arm and go for a run. He's had a bounce. Roden comes in to shut him down. Jakovic kicks towards half forward. It's a 2-on-2. Zantuck has worked Tucky under the ball. Chris Judd sockened off the ground into space. Tawney tracking back, wrapped up by Miranda. Fiora's under pressure. Judd goes in again for West Coast. They're working hard in there. But in the end, Richmond managed to bottle it up and cause a bounce.
It was a good play from Tawney, wasn't it? He was under severe pressure. He was able just to pick that ball up very, very swiftly and just move it back towards his forward line. Now, good play. Had to be absolutely sure with his hands, and he was.
You get the feeling this game is up for grabs. First goal, vitally important in this last term. Richmond lead it by 17 points. We've gone almost 2.5 minutes. Players converge around the football. It's Wayne Campbell gets the effective disposal. Only as far as Jones, and he'll go straight back inside 50. Didn't come off his boot at all well. Judd, not much of a chance. Caught to play on. Chance for Judd again. Wrapped up by Tippendale and Campbell in the end. The umpire calls for a bounce. And as we hear there, Leon Cameron appealing to the umpire. He said, no, off hands, no mark.
Thanks, Mark.
So it's inside 50 for West Coast. They trail by 17 points. Swarm of players around the ball again. Gardner goes against Hall. He tried to take it over. Up it comes to Cousins. Can he create something? Little handball over the top. Sol Tucker into trouble. Zilla had it, lost it. Kerr's taken high play on. Zilla piles in. And we'll have another bounce, Ben.
The difference there is between West Coast and Richmond at these ball-ups, just a stationary contest. Ben Cousins had the break on his opponent, but was actually running into more Tigers players. You can see the Tigers on the right of screen there, providing a defensive screen. So if West Coast do get it there, they're still running into players.
Pressure builds as this arm wrestle mounts. You get the feeling something important is going to come out of this. King to Bowden.
It's too easy.
And Richmond will leave that pressure, dribbles it towards the line, and Ben, as you said, they've been let off the hook.
Well, they've got Michael Gardner there, who can be dominant in that area. They need to try and get those Richmond defenders into an area where they're not comfortable. They're too comfortable just sitting a couple of metres off that boundary, that ball up.
Score as it was at three-quarter time. Boundary throw in. Big men wrestle. Bowden way under the footy. Campbell somehow got out initially, then lost the footy. Emerging with a Kerr, 60 metres out. Long kick down towards full forward. Can Gardner get to the contest? Yes, he can. Juggled attempt at the mark. Couldn't hang on. It spills tantalisingly across the boundary line.
Boys, King's coming off. Appears he's having trouble with his eyes. Matthew Knight's coming back on.
Trussed up Matthew Knights. King is off the ground then. Boundary throw in, right full forward. Just a beautiful night in Perth. Rucks go at it again. Could have almost been a push in the back to Gardner. Pleads his case. Nothing doing. Fiora falling to the ground. Cameron couldn't control it. Spitting out of trouble Sampi. But the kick goes out of bounds on the full. And Richmond will bring it out. They're hanging on at the moment. Eagles making their move. Ashley McIntosh used sparingly after half-time. Campbell. Tigers knowing they just have to weather this early storm, maybe a goal or two themselves, and that should be the ball game. Campbell, high ball in the direction of Ottens, and why not? He was being held. He's a big man to get around. Brad Ottens. Interesting, you think back to the last time these two sides played, he had 26 possessions, 14 kicks, 12 hand passes. A man of that size. This is Cameron.
Cameron around the wing, member side. Richardson attacked the ball, has presented himself well in the second half. It's cleaned up by Cousins. To Jakovic, Material sold into trouble, but good talk from Jakovic. Handball comes back, they've got it in the middle of the ground. Tucky to Jakovic, racking up the stats. Kicks towards half forward, puts it out in front of Braun. Kick lack direction. And Ray Hall will comfortably take it towards the boundary line. Opportunity goes begging there, Ben Allen.
Yeah, it wasn't a great option there by Jacko. Out towards the boundary line, needed to keep that ball central. It was in the middle of the ground, perhaps a left foot kick centrally would have been the go.
The arm wrestle continues. It's Richmond by 17 points. And not much action from that ruck contest, so we'll have another bounce.
One man that can kick a goal in a very short space of time is Paul Hudson. He is one out with Casey Green in the 50-metre area.
Dean Cox just drifting down forward for West Coast, trying to create a mismatch down there if the ball should come out quickly. It did, but it was to Richmond. Cameron's handball was just out in front of Ottens, and he couldn't gather cleanly. Sampi came in to put pressure on and hold it in.
These are just this ball up. You see the Richmond players on the right, the West Coast Eagles forward line players. They're trying to run forward with the flight of the ball towards their goal, but if you just hang off from that boundary line, you can get some easy, from that boundary stripe, you can get some easy pill.
Umpire puts it in the air again. Tawney, first effective disposal from that contest. Dribbles it towards the line. Chad Fletcher tries to keep it alive for West Coast, but again, we have a throw in. Real stalemate developing, and the longer that goes on, the more important the first goal of this last quarter is going to be. The margin at the moment is 17 points. We've gone almost 7 minutes in the final term. Infringement in the ruck contest. It goes West Coast way. Can they crack the game open here? Rowan Jones squares it up, looking for Gardner, and he marks on the front edge of the centre square. Wants to move it quickly. Goes towards the 50. Strong hand, strong mark, Troy Wilson. Good pressure from Gasper. There was nothing more he could have done there. And Troy Wilson will kick from about 60 metres out, 45-degree angle. Bend your fancy.
Well, I did the last time we had a kick from about 55. Gee, there's a strong mark. Great pressure from Gaspar, but as soon as he gets his mitts on that ball, Troy Wilson is very difficult to stop. Look, I think he actually prefers the ones where he can lean back and has to kick through the footy. I think he gets a bit dodgy on the 35-metre from the 35-metre region, but he should comfortably make the distance here.
From 55 metres out, and they comfortably made the distance, lessen the distance somewhat by finding the boundary line, and it's out of bounds on the full. Lee Pickings for Wilson, just his fifth possession for the evening, so that all-important first goal still up for grabs. It's Richmond by 17 points.
Well, I've learned my lesson the hard way, haven't I?
Talked him into it beautifully, Ben.
No comfort there for the Eagles supporters. Zantuck out of the back pocket, high ball towards half-back, strong mark again, Ottens. Just get the sense he's working into this game now, realising it's up for grabs. Missed by Gaspar. Cousins tried to knock it out. Gaspar directed it. Tivendale got it. Matera, sensing the danger, smothered it. Down goes Zilla. Then the Matera tackle. Push it back, says the umpire. Zilla gets the free. Played very well. Spears it across to Gaspar, coming up to claim him as Carroll.
Troy Wilson off, Dennis McIntosh on. I'd actually like to see Michael Gardner in the ruck, try and get some dominance around the centre of the ground.
Gaspar to Killaway, running off half-back, down towards half-forward, sends a high ball well inside the 50. Up was Hudson, couldn't hang on, spills at the back, Cracker, he's booted three. Matera smothered off the boot, Braun going the wrong way. Tivendale on his knees, Fiora the snap. Offline or behind, increases the lead. Battle of wills at Subi, and for the moment the Tigers prevail.
It's the first score of the last quarter. It took us 9 minutes to get there, and it extends Richmond's lead to 3 straight goals. Out towards McIntosh, who Ben Allen mentioned moments ago, came on for Troy Wilson. Works hard at ground level, great second effort. Got it to Peter Matera. Kick towards half forward, it's tumbling towards the line. Michael Gardner working hard to get there. In the end, Ray Hall beats him to it, and the ball goes out. Important passage of play coming up. Richmond by 18 points. Entertaining contest at Subiaco in front of 17,500 vocal fans. Cousins got it to Kerr. Peels off the back of the contest, kicks it inside 50. Gasper in the right position again, as he so often is. and he takes the mark, releases the pressure off defensive 40.
He just drifted back then when there was that boundary thrown in place. Just made it 2-on-1 for Richmond down there.
He does read the play very well, sweeps the kick wide to the outer side and finds Bowden in space. So Joel Bowden, defensive 65, high kick towards the outer wing. Richardson's at the back, beautifully done, read it nicely, held Djakovic up with one hand, yanked him off the contest and took the mark. He's got better as the game's going on, Matthew Richardson. Excellent second half. This is his 12th possession coming up. Kicks towards half forward. Chance here for Ottens. Reed at ground level for West Coast. Cox puts his body on the line as well. Comes out to Roden somehow. Clever play. Got it towards Tivendale. He's grabbed in the tackle and dispossessed, holding the ball.
He had to give that off Tivendale. I think it was Andy Cracker. Might have been Roden. He looked like he had about half a metre on his opponent. If he gave it off, it was an easy shot at goal.
Advantage brought back because it was no advantage to West Coast. So Braun to Djakovic, who directs traffic on the outer side. Kicks towards half forward. Jones in a one-on-one contest. Bowden has worked him under the contest to take the mark. Under that trusty left boot, he kicks long towards centre half forward. Otten's the target again. Cox punches from behind. Spills to Tivendale. On his right boot, just squeezes it out towards the flank. He saw Andrew Callaway out of the corner of his eye. And he'll take the free kick 70 metres out from goal.
Joel Bowden getting plenty of the footy in this final term. The big guns for the Tigers coming to the fore. Bowden 22 possessions. Subia's been a happy hunting ground for the family. Patrick last week in very good form for the Bulldogs. Here's Callaway. Jabs it inside the 50. Houlihan on the lead. Very conscious of where the mark was. He's booted 3. Sharp angle. Umpire Mar gets. Indicating the mark. And telling Chris what to do. Not bad. He was talking to Chris Judd, first-year player, and already it's on a first-name basis. So Houlihan, deep in the right full forward pocket, 9-9-6-9. Time ebbing away now for the West Coast Eagles. They could ill afford a goal here against them. Houlihan, of course, with other ideas, from just inside the 50, gives it a ride. It's bending back, not enough. Behind. Troy Wilson sitting down, a lather of sweat.
Ashley McIntosh at full forward, Dennis.
Philip Reed. They need to move it quickly and with precision. It's been a while since Reed has found himself in this role. Drives it towards the outer side. From behind, Djakovic. He started so well. Strong mark. Chips towards the wing into space. Braun showed too much of it to Knights, who flew from behind and took the mark. Well done, Matthew Knights. Just seems at the moment the Tigers have got all the answers. He kicks it back down towards half forward. Ottens, and this time Cox, falling away from his man. Took the mark. Hand passes to Djakovic. He runs it out, goes in short. Cousins inside the centre square. Plays on immediately. Kicks across the ground. Hall in best position. Leads back in the race. Casey Green is trying to go with him. Ball is being held on to. That is silly football because they had the numbers 2-on-1. They could ill afford to give it away, and they had a man in unfamiliar territory, a big man, having to win the ball on the ground in Hall, but he did. Dragicevic on the wing.
Sampi tries to run him down, but not before Dragicevic gets it towards half forward. Djakovic again. He's stood tall this evening. Got it to Kerr. It's Richmond by 19 points. We've gone 14 minutes in this final turn.
Gardner looking for body contact on Ray Hall, and Hall just slipped around him.
Read it the better and took the mark. Squares it up. Somewhat dangerous kick, but Bowden was good enough. Gave it to Zilla. Zilla turns onto his left side and goes to Tivendale just inside the centre square. Wants to set up an attacking prospect here. A goal would make it tough for West Coast. He goes to the pocket. Richardson's his target. But a well-timed fish from the West Coast defence. It's kept in. Cleverly done by Hudson to Houlihan. Good luck. But under pressure as he kicked it, and the ball goes out of bounds on the full.
Gee, interesting that Matthew Richardson would fly and try and take that mark on his chest. All he had to do was take the ball out in front. He had an easy mark.
Cox switches play to the outer side and finds Reed. He's got Wooden over the top. Runs for him now. He chooses not to use him. Goes further afield. It's a one-on-one contest. There's Judd. Now got 2 to beat. Now got 3 to beat. Where's his support? Bowden, and the numbers went out for the Tigers. Kicks towards half forward. They've got numbers here as well. Ottens will be run down if he doesn't get rid of it. Just got it off to Knights from 35 metres out. Right foot snap. Misses to the right-hand side.
So I thought Matthew Knight should have received the ball straight away. He was running, facing the goals. Matthew Richardson had to actually receive the ball, then turn around. Then he decided to give it off when he was under pressure. But if Knights had received the ball straight away, I'd say it'd be another goal to Richmond.
Could have been a chance to ice the game. The margin's now 20 points. Have gone 15 and a half minutes in the final term.
Cox in short. Jankovic has got it, out of side, forward of left half back. The margin now 20 points. As you heard, it would seem too much. Braun to Fletcher towards half forward. Clears Haynes in behind. McIntosh did very well. I presume he was the target. He came in a searching lead, committed himself to it, and took it very low down.
Well, he's such a good one-on-one player, McIntosh. We've seen it over the last 10 years, him playing at full back. You know, and I know he has been used a little bit in his career at full forward, but I expect to see him play there quite a bit this year. I just think his one-on-one capability is huge. We see Michael Gardner actually coming off, Troy Wilson coming on.
McIntosh from 51 metres slides it across the face. Clear open goal. Terrible marking by the Tigers. Where was it?
Touched. Ricocheted off the Richmond player, running right towards goal. Dennis, he had an open goal with Daniel Kerr and was very unlucky.
Well, let's see that again. Or maybe not. Here we go. Zantuck did very well, and Hall was sprawling across the boot as well. So between them, somebody touched it down there, and Kerr didn't take very long, but as it turned out, too long. 9-11, 6-10. And the Tigers still in control.
A useful own goal there for Ty Zantuck. Gasper forward of the wing to Andrew Callaway. Fletcher to run him down from behind, but Gasper gets his kick towards half forward. It's a good one too, and it finds Richardson 60 metres out from goal. Right out on the half forward flank. Long kick towards the goal square. At the back of the contest is Houlihan. Material did just enough to force it to ground. And the ball spills through for one behind. So a quick transition to play there from Richmond.
It was a good kick, wasn't it? He saw that Houlihan was one out. We'll see Andy Crack as well trying to pick up the crumbs, but you back Houlihan in there, but good play from Material all the same.
The margin back out to 20 points. 17 and a half minutes gone. We're heading into time on as we speak. To the members' wing. Newman to Bowden, by hand to Tawney. Goes short and finds Knights. It's not 15 metres, so he's forced to play on. Kicks around his body, just set up enough for West Coast to come across and make the spoil through Casey Green. Back towards the wing, chipping in is Newman. The youngster from Beaconsfield in Victoria wants to square it up. Dangerous kick. Chance for West Coast on the burst. It's Judd. Open forward line. Wilson one out with Gasper. Got hands to it. Couldn't bring it down. Wins it at ground level. 30 metres out. Newman comes in to load the tackle. Wilson slaps it to Broad. Can he get free? 25 out. Kicks for goal. And misses to the right-hand side. It was promising. In the end, disappointing for West Coast fans are behind the Michael Braun.
Good intercept, wasn't it, from Chris Judd in the middle of the ground, but just the kick, just this kick, it's just sitting up a little too much. Troy Wilson has to prop a little bit, although he got both hands to it. Gasper was right there when the ball finally hit the deck.
Bowden to Zilla, approaching 19 minutes in this final term. Zilla, well, he showed a fair bit of it to Casey Green, who kept it in, nicely played. Cox back to Green, out against the boundary line. Lazy kick across towards Kerr. We've still got the numbers across half-back. Kerr kicks it through the wing towards half-forward. Ill-directed. Bowden takes the mark and flirted with the idea of running on. Now he's away. Joel Bowden jabs it in towards the middle, and Hudson.
27 possessions for Bowden, Dennis.
And very good, particularly late in the game. Hudson decides to play on somehow, step between two would-be tacklers, out wide towards Newman, feeds it back, taken by Zantuck. Pettifer just on the ground, into the play immediately, kicks inside the 50. Coming up is Houlihan, some indecision down there. Hudson stood up in the tackle, got it away to Zilla. Zilla goes to Campbell. Campbell across the ground, and the mark is taken by Richardson.
It's a great kick from Campbell. If he was proficient on his left, I know he's reasonable on his left, it would have been an easy left foot kick, but he's decided to kick that ball on his right leg, and he had to kick it to the right-hand side, so it was very, very smart play. That's where the space was that Richardson had to run into. Brilliant touch from Campbell.
Actually, a clever hand pass from Dragocevic there too. Angled hand pass, just sending a teammate into space and getting on the end of the kick. Richardson. He's got two. He should kick this one. 9-12, 6-11. We've gone over 20 minutes now, so good first half from the Eagles, terrific second half from the Tigers, and that's the story of the game. Richardson kicking at his third. Good effort. Got it.
Yeah, nice finish, wasn't it? It's been an interesting game for Matty Richardson. Started on Glenn Jakovic. Glenn Jakovic actually came off the ground when Richardson was rested, I think, late in that second quarter. Came back on in the third term. Ashley McIntosh was his opponent, and from then on he really developed into the game, and probably would have been a bit smarter maybe to leave Jakovic on him for the whole match. So goal to Matthew Richardson. All important. It's that first goal. It took 21 minutes to come, but it's given Richmond a 25-point lead. Kick forward towards half forward for Richmond. Hudson at ground level, tried to soccer it off the ground. West Coast defenders there in number to hold it in. Good play there from Rowan Jones, who's last to emerge. And the umpire will throw it up just outside 50 for the Tigers. They lead by 25 points. Michael Gardner watches on from the boundary line. Otten's in the ruck, only as far as Braun. He's pushed off his kick. Clinton King tries to win it for the Tigers. Pettifer had it and lost it. Miranda, handball partly smothered. Well played, Dragicevic to his own advantage. Goes inside 50. Chance for Houlihan. Good use of the body, kept his eyes on the football and takes the mark 20 metres out, slight angle. He's a good player, this kid. Only played a handful of games for Geelong last year. In actual fact, he played 12 and I think he kicked 14 goals. So basically, if you're averaging a goal, maybe a goal and a half a game, just edged his opponent under the footy there. That's smart play, and for a small forward to be able to play one-on-one footy like that, it's a great attribute to have. 3 goals won for the evening for Houlihan. From 25 metres out, kick on its way. He likes it. He's kicked his fourth. I think we can safely say that the longer this game has progressed, the more the class has come out. And I'm talking about the class of Richmond in particular. This guy on screen, he's got class. He's very, very skillful. Not sure the exact reason for Richmond letting him go, but I think he'll be a great acquisition. Geelong let him go. Thanks, Terence. I'm not sure, but I think he'll be a great acquisition. Tivendale Bowden have also been very, very good the second half.
So he's got 4 goals now, Adam Houlihan. It's hard to imagine how he lasted to number 63 in the national draft. We saw him play very well against the Dockers. Things you recollect, that was before Ben took over, actually. Round 8 last year, he booted 5 goals. Braun hurriedly onto the boot. It comes out towards right half forward. Matera goes after it, gathers it, in space, kicks down towards the 50, speared the pass in, and Haynes takes the mark on his chest about 52 metres out. 78 plays 47, McIntosh up ahead. Haynes, normally a long kick, this one a centering kick. Bowden in from the side, couldn't hang on. Chance for Kerr, maybe this time. No one touched that one, it's a goal.
Well, I guess that makes up for the goal that was touched on the line a little while ago from young Kerr. Look, he's had an interesting game. His work rate's still there, just at the drop of the ball, and all he had to do there was pop that one over the left shoulder. But an interesting game. It's going to be really interesting also to see how he does progress in his second year. An outstanding first season for this guy. He played, I think, around 19 games. He's only about 19 or 20 years of age. He will be a player, or he's a good player now, but I think he can develop into one of the leading players at the West Coast Eagles.
In fact, Daniel Kerr, 18 years of age, is a very, very good prospect. And it's Richmond by 25 points. Back in the middle of the ground, Cox wins the tap. Casey Green kicks it inside 50 for West Coast. Punched to ground level, crashing through was Newman. Miranda hurt himself in that contest. And there's the siren. It's all over here at Subiaco. A bit of a scuffle on the final bell. Nothing much in that. And Richmond will have the last laugh this evening. It's the Tigers coming back from a 13-point deficit at half-time to run out winners 11-12-78. West Coast 7-11-53. The final margin 25 points.
And that indeed is a powerful second half for the Tigers. They kicked 9 goals to 3. And I think that does illustrate their dominance in that second term. Glenn Jakovic smiling there with Matthew Richardson. Certainly early, Jakovic was terrific. Richardson found some form in the second half as we go down to Tiffany Cherry.
Thanks, Dennis. I have Andrew Cracker here with me. And Andrew, a fantastic game, 3 goals. You must be absolutely wrapped.
Yeah, pretty wrapped. First Tigers win I've been in, and it's great to be here back at home and play a good game.
And also your sister Carla's here now. She's never seen you play before. She's over on the boundary line, and also your auntie. So you've got family here watching.
Yeah, it's good. My girlfriend that is here as well, and it'll be good. Mum's watching at home, so it'll be good. And Dad also be watching, so that's a good one.
Yeah, you must be absolutely wrapped. Obviously to get a win. Also confidence leading into the season.
Yeah, no, it's a good win. It was a bit disappointing by last week, but it's good that we bounced back and got a good win this week.
Well, great signs of the season. Well done, Andrew. Go and enjoy it. Thank you.
He was terrific. Excitement machine on the forward line with 3 goals. Andrew Cracker as we go down to Mark Reddings.
Yes, thanks, Dennis. David Weir-Punter, unfortunately, not 2 wins in a row. The third quarter, they got hold of you.
Yeah, I kind of run out of win there for a bit, but it was good experience for us young blokes in the centre, learning, watching Campbell and Knights and that swap and change, but I suppose it's a learning curve for us, and we'll have to take that leaf under our book and make the most of it next time.
Do you sense that the boys have taken a step from last year already?
Oh, a huge step. It's been a player-driven thing, and that's what Wooshers try to push for us players, and we've taken a few steps, and you have to take a few steps backward to go forward, and obviously we're learning a lot, but it's a good start, but disappointing tonight, but see what we can do in the next couple of weeks.
And how are you enjoying the midfield?
Oh, it's a new experience. I'm loving it at the moment, but I just got to try and get the fitness up a little bit more and hopefully get it right for round 1.
David, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
10 possessions for David Weir-Punter. There's John Worsfold. And those 10 possessions, 18 off the pace. The pace tonight was set by Joel Bowden. Big second half. I'd like the breakdown on that. We may have it for you later. 28 possessions, 19 kicks, 9 hand passes. Finally, the Tigers, too good. They win by 25.
Hi, Clinton Groves here with your weekly Fox Footy update. With the pre-season competition well and truly underway, each week leading up to the full launch of the channel on March 25, I'll be bringing you up to date with a sneak peek behind the scenes here at the Fox Footy studios to give you the inside running on what we can expect at the bounce of the ball for season 2002. You can feel it in the air, everything is falling into place. Only a few weeks ago, this was an empty warehouse. Now we've got desks, chairs, computers, cameras, tapes, edit suites, a voiceover booth, loads of wires, a truck, fireman's pole, and a whole team of people working around the clock. When did you last get some sleep, Simon? Last week. The transformation to a fully functional TV station is nearly complete. It's all purpose-built to bring you every game from every team every week. Plus, on top of the 8 games each and every week, we've got a stack of shows covering every facet of footy. Every weeknight, our nationwide team of reporters will keep you up to date with Fox Footy News, including this man, Jason Bennett. I'll be bringing you a daily dose of live AFL Talkback TV with White Line Fever. Club Corner delivers the latest on your club with a dedicated show for each of the 16 AFL teams. On the Couch finds the most knowledgeable and outspoken footy characters digesting the week's events. The stars of tomorrow get tips from the superstars of today on Oz Kicking Around. And that's just the shows I can think of off the top of my head. All you need to know is if it happens in footy, you'll find it here. So much happening, so much to do, and still so much more to come. Fox Footy Channel, same game, new attitude.
They trailed by 13 at half-time, but pretty powerful second half.
Big second half by the Tigers. I tell you what, Jason, watching that game, I'm glad there's plenty of coffee here in the media centre, because at half-time we needed something to keep us awake, and the Tigers then in that third term, primarily this man, and I wonder, we're going to find out later on about Glenn Jakovic, but 3 goals for Matthew Richardson, took over in that third term. Richmond only played a good 25 minutes of footy, and it was this quarter, and it was this man who delivered, and that 7-goal third term, no question setting them up, and it was good to see Matthew Richardson getting involved, getting out into the open, and finally some good ball delivery towards him, because in the first half I think everyone would agree it was pretty ordinary towards the forwards.
And they spread it around in the Richmond forward line. Houlihan finishing with 4 goals, Cracker and Richardson 3 apiece. Chambers the leading goal scorer for West Coast with 2. As we look at the stats, they're pretty even all night possession-wise. In the end, the Tigers by about 50 odd more possessions. And as we saw right throughout the evening, a lot more uncontested possessions. They got a lot of uncontested ball across half-back.
And Joel Bowden particularly, 28 touches. He always seems to find space, finds the possession of the footy, and look at that, 21 more kicks in the end, 31 more hand passes for the Tigers. Got to be happy in the end, because at half-time, you look at the score, it was 2-5 playing 4-6, and Danny Frawley, having lost in Geelong last week in an upset by 4 goals, he really must have given them the rev up, because it was looking like a very ordinary start to the season for the Tigers.
You mentioned Joel Bowden, 28 possessions. He was sensational. Other leading stat getters for the Tigers. Callaway finished with 18, 17 each to Cameron and Tivendale, 16 each to Knights and Campbell. Whilst for West Coast, Glenn Jakovic returned to the form of old. He had 20 possessions, 18 to Matera, 16 each to Kerr and Braun. The Eagles showed plenty in the first half, but in the end, the class just rose to the top.
And a couple of their younger players coming through. Good to see both Judd and Sampi, the 2 high-rated draft picks for the West Coast Eagles, looking like that they are going to deliver something for them over the course of the season. But I wonder again, had Jakovic been fit, you would have left him on during that third term when Richo took over.
Well, we're moving closer and closer to the start of round 1 of the Premiership season and the full-time launch of Fox Footy Channel. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We've got a fantastic lineup of live programs for you right throughout the year, and one that you'll be hosting, Clinton, White Line Fever.
Straight after yourself and Matty Campbell bring us the Fox Footy News. Yes, a chance for you at home to quiz the experts in football and also quiz those that make the news in footy as well. The likes of Anthony Koutafidis through to Kevin Sheedy through to Wayne Jackson. They'll all be on White Line Fever, and a chance for viewers at home to call in, email or fax as well. So I'm looking forward to that. And you're going to tell me about all these other shows. We're heading down to Matty Campbell's basement from the Fox Footy Vault.
From the Fox Footy Vault, we've got access to some fantastic archival footage that goes all the way back to the mid-50s. The winners...
So we can see Matty play.
Exactly, back to the mid-50s there for the Fox Footy Vault, which will be sensational. We've got some fantastic interstate games, some VFL games, all the way back, some great football, some of the great champions of all time. We'll see the club logos there. The winners, every Sunday night, we'll get a full wrap of all 8 games so you can hit Monday morning fully up to date with everything that's going on.
And what's this one from the Fox Footy Archives?
Fox Footy Archives goes back throughout the 1990s, some of the greatest AFL action of all time, as we look ahead to the matches to come in round 2 of the Wizard Home Loans Cup. Carlton and Geelong in this other Group 3 match tomorrow, Essendon versus the Bulldogs, and a live game on Fox Footy, Port Adelaide versus Fremantle on Saturday.
And on Sunday I'll be at Monaco Oval in Canberra. The Kangaroos against Sydney, an important game there for the Roos, and the other half of the Fox Footy doubleheader, Adelaide and St Kilda, and then Hawthorn and Collingwood to close out round 2 of the Wizard Home Loans Cup.
So that wraps it up from here at Subiaco. It was Richmond by 25 points in the end, keeping their Wizard Cup chances alive. Clinton, thanks for joining us. We'll see you again tomorrow with more live footy on Fox Footy.